3, 2, 1. Hello, it's showtime. Work. It did work. Cool. I was kind of eyeballing where my camera was today. I was taking a hello there. Hello. Realized that my zipper was undone. Put those titties back in frame. Those ones? Kinda see them? Casey. Gotta be careful calling me bro. Kitties. What's funny about you saying that is that legitimately hello. I have kittens with just like a touch of FOMO. Because I need to take these out of my ear because the music is going to distract me. It can play it subtly, softly in the background, but it can't be playing in my ear because then I can't focus. It doesn't work for me. But I have little kitties that have a tiny touch of FOMO because Mad's door is closed. My door is like just barely cracked. And Draco, for some reason, has been trying to get my attention as though something is wrong. But our gecko is in her tank. I think fine. I honestly haven't been able to find him. Mad has Merlin. There we go. So Merlin is clearly fine. I'm going to assume Scenic's in there too, so I think he's fine. I can see Ahsoka from my door. So I only can venture to guess that he was wanting attention, which I gave him. Just not. He's passed out. Merlin? Or Scenic? Okay. That makes more sense. Passed out on your bed. Okay. Scenic is bathing. In the bathtub? Again? Or, I mean, you probably couldn't be able to tell that. I'd be able to tell that because I can see the bathroom. But yeah. Anyway. No, also in my... Mad's bed is a hotspot of things. Apparently. Also realized that I have... Oh, I was not well put together before getting on stream. It's fine. That's me normally. It's all good. I had all the babies in it today. That's cute. That's adorable. I like when they all are in there getting along. Oh, right. We're still in the first few minutes, kind of. I have shameless plugs to do. And I hope this works. First is for... First is for my great spelling. I cannot do. Did that work? Did that work? Yes, it did. Okay. First is for the elusive Matt. Tomorrow is her birthday. And she is going to be birthday streaming. Still not totally sure what she's doing. Yes, so there's the Madeline. Join us tomorrow for whatever she's doing. I will be presenting her with things, and so year up. Games. I assumed we'd be doing games of some sort. I feel like this number is lying. Whatever. Did Theet ever come in? What's Theet? Present her with cats. Bob, don't give away anything. I don't think I told you what her present was. Did that ever come in? No, not yet. It says that it'll be here by 9. You didn't tell me. Okay, or I didn't tell you. It's gold. It's golden. You're gonna see it. It'll be great. But it should be cats. It's golden cats. Is it hermit crabs? No, you have enough crabs. No, you got enough crabs to deal with. never enough. No, there's a finite amount of crabs that are a good amount of crabs to have. For me, that amount is exactly 0. So, just personally. Um, yes, Madeline is only of the mm, one of the shameless plugs. The other, I'm having difficulty with my spelling as well. Bit-a-ba-doo. And I'm gonna check to make sure that this is okay, or that this is like correct. Um, Okay. There we go. The next is Silfrin. Who did that work? No, no, it did not. No E. Yes, playing I Am Fish. Perfect. Yes, because she is now streaming again. Not presently, for family reasons, but she did yesterday, and it was fun. And I almost got put in timeout. um, Mad wants Pat to give her. Mad wants Pat to give her crabs. What would Dorian say? Dorian would give a resounding yes. Does it? Does it do it for? That's a lie. That's a lie if you're doing it through Stream Elements. Or what is this? OBS. Oh my god, Stream Elements. What's wrong? As long as they're in chat. Well, nope, because your name doesn't pop up either. Ansel was already in chat, so I feel like it should have counted. But oh, that I use Twitch for it because I can't spell. Oh, that's fair enough. I do have my Twitch open just so that way I can make sure that I see like redemptions stuff. Which, by the way, Bob, you keep redeeming that first. I'm gonna think you just like being proposed to. And anybody that wants to, because I apparently have a few people here. Third is still open. You still have the opportunity to be my third. But yes, so those are my shameless plug. Got to keep you from getting more husbands, right? Fair enough. Got to keep that weird ratio correct. That's how it works. Or wives. Right. My male to female ratio with my 80% gayness. Yes. How far are we in? 14 minutes. Okay, cool. I don't want Bob to win his bet that he didn't actually get to make. Although, maybe I do. Because today I'm actually a little bit nervous playing. But let's go ahead and move on over to actually streaming. Cool. Now I can hear, and it works for me. Go ahead and turn that up a little bit more. That way it can be heard vis-a-vis actual streaming platform. And pull back Twitch stuff. Cool. Perfect. All right. So today, if you couldn't guess from title, playing Ags again. And we have Reaching Out to You Fix, Breathe, and Family. And the family one, I am nervous. Just personal. I already know like what happens in the story. I mean, not fully, but I know like what happened to Carlos, and yeah, I don't know. I'm feeling a kind of way today, and familial rejection might hit a certain way today. So we'll see. We'll see how this goes. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into. Let's go ahead and get into reaching out to you. Maybe. There we go. Reaching out to clubbing. Okay, this seems like it'll be fun. Point of view, Carlos in 2010, approximate. You did the main fic last time. I thought that seemed familiar. 1,300 words. Oh, that's easy. Carlos and Nick go clubbing, and Carlos runs into his ex. Oh. Things are gonna hit me today. I can already tell. Ugh. I had very interesting conversations of. Yeah. Ugh. Let's get into this. See how long I can last before I need to do a BRB screen. I mean, you can play happier chapters. Happier chapter. No. I'm understanding this story fully. I like doing stuff like this to feel the full force of what they're supposed to do. Like if I'm sad and I watch like The Notebook or Remember Me or something, like, oh my god, blows me away. Ooh. So I like feeling my emotions fully, and sometimes feeling them overwhelmingly helps you hear them a little bit easier. So, clubbing. I'm first gonna do water. Just so that way I can hopefully get all the mouth noises out. And then also, is the music like at an appropriate level? It's not combating my voice, and it's also not non-existent, right? Let me know. All right, Tuesday, July 20th, 2010. It's nice and in the background. Perfect. Carlos grabs Nick's hand. I can't believe we're finally here together. Nick laughs. Told you it might take me a while, but thank you for continuing to ask. I was beginning to think you were lying about Nick going clubbing, man, says Joey as he walks up to the two of them. You never seemed like the type anyway, but it's nice to see you again, Nick. Excuse me? Nick says, grinning. I'll have you know that one of the reasons my ex and I got along so well was that we went clubbing together every week. Or just about. Also, it's nice to see you again, too. I'll believe it when I see it, man. I still don't think you can dance. Don't be rude, Jay. Adito punches him in the arm as he walks up. Also, you can't dance, so you're one to talk. Oh, you're asking for it now. Joey reaches his fingers out in Adita's direction, who hides behind Carlos and Nick. No, we agreed. No more tickling. Oh my god. That sounds very familiar. Very familiar. Or maybe someone in chat. Calm down, children. Carlos chides, holding his arm out between them and grinning too, despite himself. We're not waiting for anyone else tonight, right? Bob, you're choosing violence tonight. Joey and Adita shake their heads, and Carlos is about to head in when he spots a familiar face walking toward them, and he can feel his heart drop at the sight of him. I choose violence every night. Yeah, you almost got us put in time out yesterday. All day, every day. Close? Hello, Tony. God, I have seen that shirt so much. Tony? He says the name sounds bitter on his tongue. All hopes that he hadn't also spotted or recognized him dashed. What are you doing here? Nick seems to sense the tension because he grips Carlos's hand. His grip on Carlos's hand grows firmer. Tony stops in front of him looking. You're looking as good as ever. But I was visiting the city and thought I'd see what the scene was like. What are you doing here? I live here now. Carlos stares him in the eyes, wanting to be defiant, feeling a tinge of victory when he looks away first. I'm Nick, Nick says, holding out his free hand, even as his other continues to grip Carlos's firmly. How do you know Carlos? He's my ex. Oh, he's my ex, Carlos says before Tony can say anything. He does. He doesn't want to know what kind of introduction Tony would have made otherwise, but he's pretty sure it wouldn't have been a pleasant one. Okay. Ah. Nick's face seems to harden, and his outstretched hand drops before Tony can take it. And Carlos is glad he'd only talked about Tony generalities, but not getting into the sordid details of their breakup or how much Tony had ruined his concept of a relationship before Nick came along. He doesn't think he's seen Nick angry before, but he thinks that Nick probably would be now if he. Come on, Jay, Adita says, grabbing Joey's arm and pulling him towards the door. We'll see you two inside. What terrible friends. What terrible friends. This is not a give them a minute situation. How awful. Carlos nods in their general direction, still not wanting to look away from Tony. Nick's hand is grasping so tightly now it's starting to hurt. I see you finally ditched Adam, Tony says, his tone matter-of-fact and tinged with amusement, and of course he would. Carlos shakes Nick's hand off and hooks his arm around Nick's instead. Still needing the comfort, but legitimately worrying that Nick was causing some damage. Adam is my best friend, Nick says. His voice level but filled with venom, and Carlos is reminded again why he loves this man so much. You probably shouldn't be surprised by the statement, given how much Nick and Adam spend time together and how well they get along. But it's still nice to hear it in words. Oh. See where this is already heading. Oh. Tony stares at them for a bit before his face softens, and Carlos doesn't even realize he's holding his breath and speaks again. Then I think I owe you an apology, Carlos. What? 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 That was the last thing he'd expected to hear. Okay. Maybe I don't see where this is going. Tony shifts uncomfortably, and Carlos thinks it's the first time he's seen Tony anything but overly self-assured and confident, even in the quieter moments they'd had together as a couple. I know you probably blame me for a lot of things, and you'd probably be right to. The truth is that I always wanted what was best for you. Carlos can't help but laugh at that. Excuse me? It's the truth, Tony says, looking into his eyes now. Carlos stops laughing at the honesty. I really cared about you, Carlos. I thought you were too hung up on Adam. I thought you just needed someone to help you move on from him. I was jealous, yes, but also really just wanted to help. And I legitimately didn't think that anyone would tolerate the relationship that you had. Sir? I also just realized that this is not the correct size. Oh my gosh, why can't I grip you? There we go. Because yeah, our great boyfriend has been here the whole time. I appreciate the fact that my boyfriend loves so fiercely and is so loyal and caring, Nick says, his voice still harsh, but his arm relaxing against Carlos. You know that I hated letting you go. Toxic venom, go out of here. Tony says, ignoring the outburst, and Carlos thinks, honest, Tony's a friend, even while they were dating. I already read ahead the next line. You were a good fuck, sure, but it was more than that. Okay. You were caring. Probably more caring than I deserved. And when you ended things like that, it hurt. Alright, we're gonna talk for a minute. We're gonna talk for a minute about what's going on here. So, Pat has opinions. Pat does have opinions. Pat's reading this and his brain is already bursting. So, Tony Boy here is, bringing up their old relationship. Which, sure, fine, if you want closure or something, whatever. Great. Not the place to do it, not when everyone's playing. Right? If you wanted to have any kind of interaction, say, hi, fancy seeing you here. well, I'm meeting friends inside. We'll chat later. Whatever. And if Carlos had wanted to say more, great. But he's obviously there with friends, friends that you probably know and are not friends with. And then he's also there with a new guy. So I don't know if you're trying to, in your brain, think that you're being helpful by like warning this new dude that you don't know, like, oh, just so you know, he is like obsessed with a straight guy. But really, just not a cool move. Just not a cool move. Definitely not your place. But then, with this interaction, he's bringing up their sex life and implying that they had really great sex, which is fine if that's the truth, or even if it's not the truth and you want to give Carlos props, whatever. But you're doing it intentionally to incite a reaction from his boyfriend. This is not the place for that. Tony's being super inappropriate, but they also haven't seen each other since their breakup. So, oh yeah, he thinks he's being helpful. Yeah, no, this is drenched with not how you handle a breakup and how you just end up looking like a fuckboy. So, especially dressed like that, frankly. And also, dude, you're wearing heels. So, whatever. Ugh. I hate this because it's like he's acting as though he's doing something nice by inserting compliments, specifically ones aimed at Carlos to incite something because he wants to cause problems later. Nate Stell. This is my only interaction with Tony. And as far as I can tell, he's just jealous. Nate is straight up a monster. So fight me. Okay. Cool. Let's see if I can get through the rest of these 1,300 words. Oh, also, sorry, I know I said that we were about to get into it, but he's being a pick-me baby bitch. Probably more caring than I deserved. When you ended things like that, it hurt. Do you know how many texts when people understand that you were better for them than they deserved, and they do this, it's slightly vindicating to be like, yes, I was great. You were the problem. Good that you see that. However, you're doing it in a problematic fashion. So you still know that you're the problem and you're continuing that behavior cycle. Ooh. Oh. Hmm. Okay. Carlos feels his anger rising now, hating how they had never talked about this back when it mattered. That should not be why you're upset. You should be upset that some ass is coming via pick me baby bitch. Like when you're trying to enjoy the one night that your boyfriend has free to hang out with your friends. That should be what's upsetting you, not the fact that your ex is like finally getting that you were the good guy. Carlos, my man, my boy, my baby. Oh. I get it. You're like 22, 23 at this point. But oh, my baby. Oh. Okay. Dude, you almost destroyed my friendship with my best friend and made me feel like I was incapable of being loved by anyone for it. Fuck you and fuck your feelings. Yes! That exactly. Tune in for more pad advice. Ooh, I got it. I have all the advice. Ooh. Funnily enough, I was actually talking to a 22-year-old today and was giving them like, I shouldn't say life advice, but was talking to them about patterns that I noticed in the relationship information that they were giving me. So, I'm already like in the zone for today. Tony just nods. That's probably fair. I probably deserve that. Yeah, you do. Leave. Why are you still standing? Go do whatever it is people do. And by you people, I mean fuckboy baby bitches. He looks between Carlos and Nick and then smiles. You bagged a good one, Nick. And if the way you're behaving toward me right now is any indication, If the way you're behaving toward me right now is any indication, he did too. You are good for each other. What a weird compliment. Carlos deflates at that, feeling extremely confused, but also, nope, he's trying to confuse you. Don't let it confuse you. He's still being an ass. That is like the weirdest backhanded compliment you could give. Feeling extremely confused, but also maybe with a tinge of relief. What is going on right now? What's going on is that he's happy that you're with someone that's behaving jealous like he was. Anyway. Things change. I'm sorry for what happened between us, and especially how it ended. And he shrugs. Anyway, I think I'll go check out a different club. Have a nice night. Yeah, get lost. I don't know if that's how you wrote it, Bob, but that's 100% from my personal experience. So maybe I'm jaded, but from my personal experience, that's what happened. Is he's happy to see that Carlos is with someone that he thinks is still just like him. So, which is like his weird way of having won the breakup or something. So, get all the way out of here. I told you, I'm feeling like a kind of way today. No, Carlos says, Carlos, you're being dumb. You're gonna be a dumb. I know we had like that thing. Ooh, okay, I'm gonna read Bob's response first. Calm down a minute. I mean, I've apparently had a significantly better dating experience. Also, maybe more forgiving. I'm more forgiving than you. So I like your interpretation. But also the intent was that maybe he was legitimately regretful. ¿Por qué no haces dos? I feel like what he's saying can be a little bit of column A and a little bit of column B. Personally. Because forgiveness is an interesting word today for me. Yeah, I feel like in a relationship, when you know that you were the problem, and you exactly porco no haces dos, whatever, porco no los dos. When you realize that you're the problem, and know that you let a good person go, there can be legitimate regret. In my experience, that regret just fuels your emotions. Typically, it doesn't fuel genuine acts of reconciliation. Typically, for me, it has fueled acts of brutality. So, that's how I'm interpreting. Sure. I'm based on what Carlos is about to do. I take it that it's probably going to go better, and he's going to be like a redeemable character, like how you claim Nate is a redeemable character, which I still believe. But he wants closure here, and the spiteful thing would be to not give it to him. But also, Carlos isn't that kind of. Yeah, yeah. And closure is fine. I feel like, hey, having like your abs and all your pecs out, maybe not not the way to do it. At a club, legitimately standing either on a sidewalk or in a parking lot, not the way to do it. And while Carlos isn't the kind of guy to not give someone closure, because that could still just be beneficial for him. Closure is for not for anyone. Same with, accepting apologies and forgiveness, yada yada. It's for you. Um, eh, I just, I also am aware that like I'm letting very personal things cloud my opinion of this situation. Um, Specifically because I have bad associations with clubs and my ex, um, who this guy just gives me full on vibes of. But that's just me. So let's watch Carlos make poor 20-year-old decisions. No, Carlos says, surprising himself, and by the expression on Tony's face and the way Nick stiffens again, he isn't the only one. I mean, if you want to stay, I'd be okay with that. Maybe we could talk a bit. Or maybe not. Or just full on maybe not. Maybe just enjoy the night that you have with Nick and, you know, deal with talking to Tony later. Like, make sure you guys still have each other's numbers or your Facebooks or whatever and deal with that later. Not right here, not right now. Not with your boyfriend. He looks over at Nick, who seems to be staring at him now, a smile ghosting his lips. If that's okay with Nick anyway. Babe, of course it's okay. Wow, everyone's just on the bandwagon of forgiveness. Nick says, and Carlos thinks that if he didn't know Nick so well, he'd wonder if that was just a vacation. But Nick legitimately seems happy for him, and he knows by now that Nick isn't the jealous type. And not just when it comes to Adam. It's not about being jealous. It's not about being jealous. It's about having a good time. And is this going to be a good time? I totally firmly believe that Carlos will never want to get back with Tony again. That's fine. It's not a jealousy issue. It's a, I don't want you near my fucking face issue. Yeah, laugh it up. I mean, Nick has also had generally amicable breakups. And oh. I'm glad that okay. Ooh. He's like, sure, why not? Oh, so he's like, sure, why not? Um uh, I'm loving. I'm so glad that you're enjoying this. I ooh. I'm happy that Nick understands that this is, in a weird way, weird to me, in a weird way, growth for Carlos, and is fully in support of that growth. And that's where I'm going to end that. Tony nods, smiling. I'd like that, if you're sure that's okay. It's not, and you should probably reject that offer before you cause problems that you might cause. I think we left some loose ends, Carlos says. I think we'd both feel better if we resolved them. Yeah, but maybe not right. I don't think it will in any way cause you to have a less good night than the night that you had planned with your friends and your boyfriend. Just me personally. I think you could have had the exact same good time that you intended to have. Maybe even a better time than you intended to have without having Tony there. That's just me. Tony nods again and gestures his arm towards the door, and Carlos lets Nick drag him through it as Tony follows behind. And even though it may be too early to say for sure, he thinks he might actually be glad they ran into it. Well, wasn't that fuzzy? Okay. Well then. We're gonna go into breathe, the thing that I need to remember to keep doing. Point of view, Carlos. Approximate word, 2900. Warning, sexual content. Oh, okay. Carlos and Nick discuss Elliot. Cool. That's gonna be fun. Why did I feel like I was thinking about this today? I'm like, why did I feel a conversation like this was gonna come up in today's stream? Breathe. Saturday, October 23rd, 2010. Ow! That snaps Carlos awake, the terror of his nightmare immediately replacing the worry when his eyes focus on Nick next to him, holding up a hand to his eye. Oh boy. What I think just happened, something that happened? Oh god, I'm so sorry, I was... Okay, yep. Nick seems to tentatively prod his face with a finger. You have a really strong swing. I've done this before. I've done this before, and it's awful. Okay. Should I get something? Some ice? Some, Carlos isn't actually sure what he did, but he suspects he punched Nick in the face in his imagined struggle. Yeah. Yeah. It happens. I've straight up, like, I've been next to a guy and, like, just lost control of my, like, I was fully awake one, and I, like, looked over and I was gonna just, like, turn and kind of, like, touch his face. Just, like, a sweet, like, movie moment or whatever. And for whatever reason, my hand, like, rubber banded or something, and I, like, full on, like, Elastigirl punched him. Yeah. Oh no. Yeah, I have also accidentally punched someone else, like, while I was full, honestly. Yeah, sleep's funny. I've done a lot of weird things. I also apparently talk in my sleep, so that's fun. I always need to be careful of what the last thing I'm thinking about is before I go to bed if I don't want something bad coming out. Nick shakes his head and chuckles, confusing him. No, I think I'm okay. If I have a black eye though, we're gonna have to spin up some fun story. Like Adam hit me in the face with a can of soda when he was playing Keep Away. That's funny. Yeah. Oh, my brain. Anytime that something happens where Dorian accidentally, like, is a little too rough with me, um I have the joke of just like, oh, it's fine. If it leaves a mark, I'll just tell people that you hit me. Which we have to be very careful of with Draco. Draco is very, very protective. If he sees someone hurt me, he retaliates. So Carlos finds it funny, but instead Carlos should find it funny, but instead he just worries. Wrapped his arm around Nick and pulling him against his chest. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I know, Nick says, snuggling in closer and smiling against his chest. Then Carlos feels him frown. Were you having a nightmare? Typically you don't punch in your sleep because you were having a great dream. Just saying. Oh my god, I just saw Elliot's name and then my mind flashed with what his dream probably was. Yeah, sometimes I realized he had never talked to Nick about Elliot and what happened that night at the house. I'm assuming canonically, wait, yeah, because I was there with him, but he would have been there either way, right? I just have a recurring nightmare sometimes from a bad memory. I understand. Nick nods, kissing his chest again and rubbing Carlos's back soothingly. Anything I can do? Not a damn thing. Not a damn thing you can do about it, but thank you. Don't hate me when it happens again. Carlos closes his eyes, letting the feel of it. I knew this whole game was just gonna get me tonight. Carlos closes his eyes, letting the feel of his boyfriend in his arms push aside the dream. You're doing it. I'm glad. Sunday, October 24th. You want to talk about your nightmare? Probably not. Probably not. I mean, I guess if he hasn't told you anything about Elliot yet, then maybe. If he hadn't, not typically something you want to keep going and hashing through. But Carlos looks over at Nick from the bed, standing in his kitchen holding a steaming cup of coffee. He's glad Nick doesn't seem to have suffered any ill effect from his nighttime flailing. It's a nice way of putting accidentally sucker punching your boyfriend in his sleep. Maybe. He actually isn't sure. Fair enough. But he figures he and Nick should probably talk about Elliot anyway. He waits until Nick climbs back into bed next, setting his coffee down on his nightstand and wrapping Carlos up in his arms, kissing Carlos's forehead and waiting for him. I think Adam and I have mentioned Elliot before. He was my first, was the first crush I had where I guess something could have come out of it. Nick doesn't say anything. Waiting for him to. Okay, cool. Take two. Nick doesn't say anything, waiting for him to continue. Carlos closes his eyes, focusing on the feeling of Nick's hands on his. Neither of us were out at the frat house, and I guess I never even knew sure he was gay, but there was a guy at the house, Robert. I don't want to get too far into that, but I guess at some level he was homophobic, and Elliot confronted him about it, and he shudders, unable to continue. Sorry, babe. Carlos shakes his head. Well, it's not okay, but it is what it is. But sometimes I just remember sitting there, paralyzed as he shudders again. I just remember the blood, and in my dream, Sorry, give me a second. And in my dream, that's me that Robert is punching. Doing what I can to fight back, I guess. It seems like Nick isn't sure what to say. Instead, just kissing Carlos' forehead again and holding him tighter. Anyway, I'm sorry I punched you in the face last night. Thinks the apology would be comical if he wasn't so upset at the moment. It actually kind of would be. So, there's that. Babe, don't be. It's not your fault. Nick pauses as searching for the right words. There really aren't any. I can't imagine what that must have been like. Just let me know if there's ever anything I can do. Thanks. Maybe really cliche to say, but you make everything better. So just continue. Nick, I feel like this chapter is just going to be a lot of me deep breathing and sighing. So enjoy the ASMR. Nick looks up at him and kisses him gently. I'm glad. Carlos stares off in his face, thinking, sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I had been braver. Maybe I could have stopped things from happening. You shouldn't feel guilty about what happened, Nick says, and Carlos thinks he's probably right, even if he doesn't know anything about the situation. I know, but I just keep thinking that I should have done more. Okay. There's nothing that you can do about someone else being a psychopath. Like, I'm sure if the great writer and creator of this game ever came up with a like Robert based story, there would be a lot of like redeeming qualities about him and his path towards acceptance of his brother and whatnot. You're not wrong, but Carlos still feels guilty about it. And I can understand that. It's yeah. Anyone out there that comes across this video that might need to hear it, it's never your fault if you're dealing with a psychopath, any violence. It's not on you. Um, Maybe you should talk to someone about it. It's looking at. Okay. I'm gonna take another drink real quick. Maybe you should talk to someone about it. Nick's looking at him again. I'm always more than happy to listen, of course, but sometimes therapy is useful. Even if just to have someone more detached from this to talk to. Maybe. Carlos isn't sure how he feels about therapy, even if he thinks it might be useful. He feels somehow like he'd be a failure if he couldn't work through things himself. Were you a failure for breaking your arm and needing a doctor to help you? Are all of the various many people that your boyfriend and best friend are going to help in the future failures for going to them? No. No, they aren't. No, you weren't. This is no different. Or that having a therapist means that something's wrong with him. So many people have this idea. And I understand that that's the point, to make us feel connected to Carlos. And you know what? In a I just saw thinking of therapy. That's funny. Yep, thinking of therapy. Yeah. And to a certain extent, like, it's just the same thing like with the broken arm thing. Like, it's not that something's wrong with you, it's that you have something that you want to work through. I mean it, Nick says as if reading his thoughts, and Carlos supposes Nick knows him well enough by now to at least be following his silent thought process. Well, my university had free therapy sessions and I took advantage of it. A lot of my friends did too. There's absolutely nothing shameful about it. I keep thinking I should find one here too, but things have been a lot busier and I keep putting it off. Hearing that Nick's been to therapy helps some, because Carlos thinks that Nick is one of the most together and reasonable people he's ever known. Okay, I'll see what options I have. Nick nods. But please don't take that as me being dismissive. I always want to hear anything you want to talk about, okay? And I always want to do what I can. Carlos smiles now, feeling a little better about things. And Nick smiles with him. I know, Carlos says. You're amazing and supportive, and I love you too. Nick kisses him again. And thank you. Always, babe. Monday, December 6th, 2010. Hey, babe. Hey, Carlos says, turning from the pans on the stove as Nick walks in the door behind Adam. Nick kicks off his shoes and gives Carlos a kiss before wrapping his arms around his torso, his chin on Carlos's shoulder. That smells good. Yeah, I wanted to make asado. I'm sure that's something that Dorian has probably made, or would want to. Again. Carlos blushes at the memory of his first meeting with Nick. He hadn't made the dish again since then, not only because plantains could sometimes be a pain to get. That's the first thing you made me, isn't it? Carlos nods, turning and kissing Nick's. It is. I was gonna make it yesterday for our anniversary. Except it was a Sunday, so we were able to spend the day together and go out instead. I love you, Nick says, squeezing Carlos tightly. I love you too, Carlos says, stirring the beans. Although you might want to go sit on the couch, since I'm gonna start frying the plantains soon. They tend to splatter a bit. Fun fact, yesterday I was cooking, I was actually making pancakes, and I was like pan frying them, I guess, is how I choose to make them. So there was oil spitting at me. Which, yes, is not fun. Carlos has way too much time to do adulting. Also, someone who has enough time for adulting. Use that much oil for pancakes? Alright. So, not typically enough where it can spit at me. But, yeah, last night I was not in the mood to, like, wait. And when you put oil on it, it, like, instantly cooks the sides through. So, yeah, it was, like, a deep fried pancake where, like, the inside was, like, gooey and the outside was, like, super duper crisp. Okay, you know how I don't use salt? I also try to not use oil. And now I see why you haven't changed sizes since college. That's fair. I try not to, like, douse things with oil or butter, but I get impatient, and sometimes they are a good tool for speeding things up. Nick nods, kissing his neck before releasing him and joining Adam on the couch. Friday, December 10th. I sub applesauce in baking? Wait, applesauce? For what? I use less oil where I can't substitute. Wait, applesauce is a substitute for oil? Is that bad? Is that effective? Would that be effective for the things that I make? Because ARFID, I can't make much. So I don't use many things with much oil. I guess oil technically wouldn't be. Madeline, oil or applesauce as a substitute for oil. Yes? It works for baked goods where you don't need the grease but want the moisture. I want to try this. But, like, I'm not going to fry eggs in apples. Well, I was assuming with my specific case yesterday, it wouldn't be an effective tool. But I just cooked them without oil in a non-stick pan instead. Okay, well, not all of us can be classy. Okay. Yeah, you can do that. Or for eggs sometimes, too. Matt, is there anything that we make that, like, I could try that on? I made a vegan peach upside down cake and it used applesauce in place of the eggs. Yeah, applesauce can sub for eggs too. In certain cases. Y'all are blowing my mind with applesauce. We could try it with something. Would it? Not as well as oil. Interesting. I'm now curious and want to try this. I just don't know what I would try it on. Because I literally bake like 2 things. 3 things. And that's like cookies, brownies, and cake. I could probably use it for a cake. I am an instant cake kind of guy. Don't really do the whole like grabbing flour, eggs, and you know, doing the flora fauna Merriweather mess in the kitchen type cooking, baking. Anyway, Friday, December 10th. Is it still working? Carlos's hand runs through Nick. Nick shifts from his position on Carlos's chest and looks up at him, surprised. The 2 of us? I think so. Is this still working? Okay. The 2 of us? I think so. Why? I think so too, Carlos says, squeezing his eyes shut and trying to move Nick's head back to its comfortable position on him. But Nick refuses to budge. He kicks himself for bringing it up and letting his insecurities resurface. Okay. Hey, what's wrong? Nick sounds legitimately concerned now. It's stupid. Your feelings are never stupid. What's wrong? Carlos dares to open his eyes. Nick's looking up at him, equal parts affectionate and worried. Good, so he has gone to therapy, and I'm gonna lose it. I'm gonna lose it. I'm gonna lose it all over the ground. In the course of 4 days, after it was suggested, Carlos went to therapy. Only everyone could be. Okay. Everyone should go to therapy. Agreed. Everyone should go to therapy. Everyone should go to therapy. Especially if you have the means and are capable of it. And oh, yeah, everyone should go to therapy. So why people refuse baffles lunacy to me. I guess therapy today just got me thinking about my ex and how I guess he grew tired of me. Well, I guess it was a lot more than that, but the newness of things wore off. Yes, that happens. Yep, in every relationship. Most relationships tend to like wear out after about 2 years together because your body stops doing like the picking up the slack after about 2 years. So all that like extra endorphin release and the like turn-oniness of seeing your partner starts to dissipate on just like a base level, where beyond that it's something that you kind of have to work for a little bit. And it just felt like he needed me to be someone I wasn't, and not just because of Adam. So with you, I've been so happy, and my life right now is so amazing in so many ways, in addition to you. So I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop, I guess. Feel you, bro. Feel you, bro. Whenever things are too good, I'm like, why is it so good right now? Which is a toxic thing about me that I need to stop doing. Yeah, and the important and yeah, and that's the important distinction between relationships are work and relationships are work. Fair enough. Correct. Yes. You keep to work to keep things fresh. But you shouldn't have to work to stay happy. Exactly. Yeah, no. You like constantly work to build your relationship and to make it something that both parties want and that both people are like happy and excited in and pushes you towards like newer, greater, bigger, better, comfortable things, whatever it is that you like, that you as a couple want. So like they will revisit this conversation at some, regardless if it's in the game. IRL, they would revisit this conversation again, probably several times, not just to be like, are we working? But to legitimately be like, hey, I'm bored in bed, or I feel like we're not going anywhere, like where we're at physically in life, this town, this state. Um, I feel like we need to have more time to talk and connect. We need to start having date nights again, or we need to go on a vacation, just a spur of the moment vacation, or whatever it is that's gonna keep them happy at that point. I feel like too many couples have this conversation and then they're just like, kids, kids, and then kids are not a thing. Yeah, those conversations are important. Are very. And for you to decide that you're through or that you're sick and tired of my insecurities or complaining or whatever. Bro, you are a work in progress. Just like Nick is. And you, like, if you're both cool with that and you're both cool with, like, working on yourselves together, solid. He's not sure he's expressing his thoughts properly, but Nick nods, seemingly understanding. Excuse me. I want to be here to support you when you need to complain, babe. And I could never get tired of you. Carlos laughs despite himself. You say that now, but wait until I'm gray and my hair's falling out. And... Okay, stop that. Nick's voice is still soft but commanding anyway. You're one of the most attractive people I've ever met. Because he has met him before. You're one of the most attractive people I've ever met, sure. Carlos blushes at that. But I love you for you, babe. I don't want you to change, especially not for me. I love how emotional and caring and affectionate you are. You take care of me in ways I never even knew I needed. Your heart's pure and precious, and I want to wrap it up and treasure it forever. I'm gonna point out too, just to by the by, the opening screen, when it gives like the content warning, I think you're missing like 2 words. I think it's like this game you're missing contains. Oh no, yeah, I think it just says this game, uh, men on man attraction and affection, and that's the end of the sentence. Like, I think you meant to put contains or has or something in there, but that's the only one that I've like truly noticed aside from this one. Bob type good. Bob do many things very well. Bob do many things very well. I can overlook a couple mistakes. um, it feels utterly cliche, but it makes Carlos teary anyway. Maybe. And okay, you're worried about the physical part. And I have to say, I'm looking forward to you being old and gray and balding because it means we'll have grown old together. Ah. I'll have countless mornings of waking up next to you and of sliding up behind you in the kitchen and wrapping my arms around you, leaning against you on the couch, walks down the street with you with your hand in mine. Nick smiles at him softly, and Carlos's vision is blurry now. Every gray hair will be a reminder of how lucky I've been every day of my life to have you in. Oh. Growing old is such a privilege. A curse, yes, but also. I've noticed like 4 others that you haven't noticed. Oh, good. Nick's sentimental here is literally me. And what I tell hubby every time about going gray. Aw, you guys are cute. Carlos shakes his head, pulling Nick up and properly kissing him, slowly but passionate. Nick smiles at Nick smiles at him as they break. I love you, Carlos. Please don't ever worry about that. Carlos nods, feeling reassured now. I love you too, and thank you. Nick's head returns to its position against his chest, and Carlos closes his eyes, enjoying the feeling of Nick's breathing against his skin. Nick's arms tighten around him. I always want to be reassuring for you. Nick says. And the feeling of his boyfriend holding him like that helps him push his insecurities aside. You are, he says, kissing the top of Nick's. You are. Ooh, the very next day. I got you something, babe. Takes Carlos a second for the words to process. His brain had been preoccupied by Nick's mouth. Oh, oops. Was there something? Skip through it? That's not really an option. I'm curious why I should skip through this. Uh-huh. So they're doing the thing. There's... Huh. There's a surprise. I'm getting the same idea of what it is. And it's pretty much exactly what I thought it was going to be. Ooh. Okay. It's not as bad as I was thinking it might have been, because yeah. Nick got something out of his pocket as a surprise for Carlos, to enhance their fun time. Okay, I'm seeing now why maybe this is not as streamer friendly a chapter. But does tell me an awful lot about Bob. Okay. I haven't added anything, so. Yep. I will say that I see why those words might not have been super great on stream. However, I do recommend everyone go read Saturday, December 11th or Friday, December 10th. Because I enjoyed the image. I enjoyed the mental picture. And it also was a little funny. All right, Sunday, December 12th. Did I send Elliot an email? Nick sets his book down and smiles. Carlos immediately feels guilty about interrupting his reading. Do? Not sure. Carlos moves closer to Nick, pulling him against him and taking comfort in his weight and warmth against him. Gina says it's up to me, but maybe having some closure would be nice. I take it Gina's the therapist or counselor. I swear I've tested this game. To be fair, I don't think it was that bad. I appreciate the warning. It honestly, it's a very real scene. Where a partner purchases something that's supposed to enhance fun time, and then the other partner is like, sure, I'll try it, and does not enjoy it nearly as much as the other partner thought that they would. And I don't know why I'm being very vague. It's mostly flavored lube. That was like the thing. Which at this point, like, yeah, totally fine. Yeah. So that's the whole what happens there is Nick gets some pineapple flavored lube. Carlos thinks that it tastes terrible. And so in lieu of using the top portion, they go about with the rest of their fun time. And that was that. Which I thought was very real and a little funny. Uh, yeah. Nick kisses his neck and settles into a comfortable spot on his shoulders. Carlos hadn't talked to Nick about his therapy session with Gina, feeling like half the point of them was to be able to have discussions with someone who wasn't invested in life. Fair enough. Besides, Nick didn't talk about his therapy sessions either, so he figured it was fair enough. As I said, fair enough. But Elliot somehow feels like a thing he doesn't want to talk to Nick about, especially now that he's had some time to sort through his feelings on the matter. Okay. I'm curious. Okay. I'm curious of things, but we'll find out as we go. I'll finish formulating these thoughts and then we'll find out together. Yeah. Even though I have you in my life, even though I have you and my life is so amazing, she suggests that maybe it's one loose end that I might someday want to start tying up. Carlos pauses, thinking, and Nick doesn't say anything. They're just wrapping an arm around his. I don't know where to start, though. I don't even know if he's gay. Do you think he'd be offended if you asked? In this canon, Carlos and Elliot kind of just stopped emailing that semester and just never really talked after. Okay, unlike in Zags where you talked to Elliot over I am every. Fair enough. Okay. Because yeah, I'm like, I know that based on what I was doing, we talked to Elliot. But also I know that it's a pick your own adventure up until this game. Then there's like a correct path from each game. Carlos scoffs. That's an extremely personal thing to ask, especially out of blue after so many years. You don't have to start with that, babe, but maybe if you start catching up and talking again. We used to talk a lot, especially after we first moved after the incident. We'd email every couple days, but that turned into weekly. Then I just found it hard to keep talking to him. Why? A couple months ago, Carlos wouldn't have known how to answer that question, but Gina had helped guide him through his thoughts on the matter. I don't normally second guess myself or my decisions. Same. I decide on something and then I just do it. And I don't usually dwell on things in the past. Same. I'm a big grudge holder. Usually I just move on. So one of the reasons I knew I had feelings for you was that I second guessed things with you. Before we were together a lot. You can feel Nick's smile against him at that. And whenever I'd go to write an email to Elliot, I'd second guess everything I wanted to say. Made it into a much bigger deal than it should have been. And then it was easier to just on. Nick nods against his shoulder, and his arm tightens around Carlos's back. Carlos is thankful for that. Does it bother you? Carlos feels like he knows the answer already, but he has to ask anyway. Nick sets up the question, does what bother me? That I had feelings for Elliot. Carlos, my man, my main man. You have a past. Just like Nick has a past. Nick has people that he's been interested in. Nick has had loves, crushes, and all of the various many things before you. You have had loves and crushes, and you've slept with people, and you've done XYZ before you even knew that Nick existed. Keep in mind that Carlos was jealous that Nick had feelings for Wade, so this is a legitimate question for me. I know. I understand. Carlos's feelings are different than just in general though. It is kind of one of those things where it's like anything that happened, like okay, in my relationship, anything that Dorian did before I was in the picture is none of my business. If he wants to tell me, if he wants to share it with me, great. Any feelings that I have about it are my own, but I personally feel like jealousy will never be one of them. Um, like being bothered by something will probably never be one of it, just because it, like, I wasn't a part of it. That's healthy. I think so. I do know that it does bother some people, and so it's good that Carlos is I guess in my opinion what Carlos should be doing is like making sure that this is a conversation that Nick is comfortable having. Because if Nick knows that he like gets jealous or set off in any way by Carlos talking about having feelings for someone else, then sure. That's totally fine. Let's just not talk about it. I have a therapist I can talk to, I have Adam I can talk to, I have whoever else I can talk to about it. Unless it's like super crucial, if you're not into talking about this, we don't need to talk. That said, like, everybody has a past. And no one should feel bad about like their partner feeling about their past. Nick smiles at him reassuringly. Babe, why would that bother me? Carlos shakes his head. I don't know. You're the most amazing boyfriend, and I love you, and I feel bad sitting here with you next to me, complaining about some stupid missed opportunity in my past that honestly worked out for the better in every way anyway. That's a weird way to put it, not gonna lie. But less fair. I love you too. Carlos loves how neither of them ever leaves the other hanging on their I love yous. That must be nice. But I don't feel threatened, if that's what you mean. Just like Adam's an important part of your present, Elliot was an important part of your past. Thank you, Nick. Thank you. My man. So of course it's something you'd want closure on. I trust you. I want I want to do whatever I can to help you. Always, in whatever ways or things you might need help with. That includes anything with Elliot. Carlos kisses him gently, needing to show some small semblance of gratitude. Nick smiles and returns to his spot on Carlos' shoulder. So do you want to send him an email? Carlos thinks for a bit. Gina hadn't pushed him on opening up contact again, telling him that she trusted him to do what felt right to him, what felt right to him. Pardon me. So hearing Nick ask it was useful, but also difficult to answer. I don't think so. Okay, Nick says simply, and Carlos briefly wonders why he hadn't asked why. It's none of his business. If you want to share, share. Clearly he and I aren't getting together. Carlos started needing to answer the question anyway, even if only for himself. And that's fine. If you want to share, share. But your boyfriend shouldn't fish for answers from you based on choices that you want to make about your emotional and mental well-being. And I think back then it was the thought of having someone to talk to who was similar, who had similar. Oh my gosh. Sorry, I got so like huffed up that like now I'm trying to rebreathe. I had similar experience with the house and things that I found interesting. But then I started having Dan and Nate and James to talk to, and I started segmenting my life into the frat and the non-frat. So there I was doing that in the game. There's just the thought of losing his friendship. Crush was our that kept us talking for a while, but then we stopped, or at least I stopped, and at that point it'd been so long I'm not sure we're really friends like that anymore. And now I'm comfortable with myself and I have you, so I'm not sure there's a lot of benefit to digging up the past again. Okay. If thinking about that is what you need for your closure, that's great. He hopes his rambling words make sense, but they make him feel better at least. Okay, Nick says again, kissing his shoulder and sitting up. Then I think that's your answer. Okay. Carlos agrees, leaning over and kissing Nick more properly. Thank you for listening. Sometimes it's nice to just talk things through. And sometimes you need someone with attachment, like with enough attachment to you, but detachment from a different situation to be able to let you say what you want to say. Of course, babe. Nick smiles. So, do you want to do something with me before bed? Carlos laughs. The change of subject and Nick's suggestive expression helping lighten the mood. Yes, please. Just not with anything pineapple flavored. Right. Oh, words. Words I'm going to keep to myself. All right, so the last new one we have, unless, is there, this says new, but we've read piece, correct? Is there new pieces to it? Good gravy. How's it only been an hour and a half? You haven't read piece by piece. For real. Okay. Well then. There is more between family and piece by piece, though, correct? That's like a whole 2.5 years of time just like in between. There's more, and it'll unlock once you've read family. Okay, cool. Family, the big one. This one's only 1,500 words. Okay. Based on this description, I'm less anxious for this subject than I initially was. So, cool. Oh my goodness. Okay. Need a touch more coffee. All right, read chapter. Point of view, Carlos. Carlos throws a surprise party for Adam in 2011. Approximate word count 1,500. Short. Okay, Monday, August 14th. Carlos glances over at Adam, sitting on the couch with the textbook before he answers his phone. Hello? Hey, babe. Nick says on the other end. I'm just calling like you asked. They're here a little early. Oh, hi, baby. Carlos says, turning his body towards the couch, so his voice would project. Is everything okay? More or less. I think I'm pregnant and you're not the father. I might need to go get a paternity test done today, even though it would probably be easier to wait until after the birth. Nick says, and Carlos can hear the grin on his face. Carlos does his best to put on an upset expression despite Nick making it hard. Crap, I'll be right there then. He glances over at Adam, who seems to be interested in the conversation now. I love you, he adds for good measure. I love you too, Nick says. Seriously though, do you want us to meet you there? No, I'll come find you. Nick makes an affirmative noise and hangs up the phone, and Adam turns towards Carlos as he puts the phone back in his pocket. Okay? Yeah, just there's a bit of an emergency and Nick needs me. I know we were supposed to get lunch together today, but he looks at the clock, hoping his act is convincing. Well, maybe we still could. I'll let you know. Adam pushes his books down and stands, and Carlos feels a momentary sense of panic at it. Can I do anything to help, dude? No, Carlos shakes his head. It's a personal thing. Sorry to run out on your birthday like this. Adam smiles. It's fine, dude. If we miss lunch, we can always get dinner or something. Nick's still coming over this afternoon? Probably. Carlos fiddles with his wallet and keys before opening the door. I'll be back soon, Chico. And happy birthday, again. Later. Congratulations on the baby, Emily says when he walks into Nick's apartment. Oh, that's great. Hugging him before ruffling his hair. Adam's parents smiling at him from Nick's 2 chairs. Oh, that's great. Nick chuckles from his position sitting on his bed. I think Emily is the father. Emily frowns. So you're the doctor. I think you're gonna have to explain that one to me. I'm glad you made it safely, Carlos says instead, as Denise stands to give him a hug. I'm sorry we're early, honey, she says as she releases him and pats his shoulder. We were concerned about traffic, but I guess we didn't need to be. It's fine, Carlos says, trying to rework the plans. We were originally going to surprise him at the restaurant, but we could go to the apartment first. That might be better for presents, too. If we get our story straight, we could get him to come downstairs, Nick says, thinking now, too, as he walks up next to Carlos. I needed to get a zip car. I needed to get a zip car because I needed help hauling something. Emergency IKEA trip. What? Nick spontaneously decided that he needed more furniture and then needed help picking it up? Carlos looks around the surprisingly furnished room. The sparsely furnished room. Actually, not a bad plan. Nick hits his arm. For that, I'm going to buy another 10 of those shelves and fill every last one with books. You'll have to navigate a maze every time you want to get to the bed. Making it more difficult to get to the bed is a pretty serious threat. Honestly, that might actually be a good idea. It'd be better than leaving books in stacks on every horizontal surface, Carlos teases, kissing him quickly. Why not keep it simple? God asks. Nick needs help with Adam's birthday present. It's also the truth. Carlos nods. That works. Everyone ready? Later. Again. Oh? Adam sounds confused on the phone, and Carlos hopes he's selling it well enough. Yeah, I thought I could handle it, but I think it needs another pair of hands. Sure, I'll meet you at Nick's, dude. Carlos thinks for a second, remembering that the building has multiple exits, and although he doesn't think Adam would go through one of the back ones, he doesn't want to risk it. Actually, I'm downstairs with part 1. I'll see you here? Sure, dude. Adam hangs up and Nick grabs Carlos's hand. Carlos smiles at him and Emily grabs his other hand. It doesn't take Adam long to come through the front doors, his expression equal parts disbelief and joy as he takes in everyone standing there. Dude, what? Happy birthday! His parents say as his mom walks up to him, arms open and Carlos beams. I was waiting for you to call, Adam says, hugging her back. Normally you call in the mornings. Thought about it, Denise says, squeezing him tightly before letting him go. I'm not sure it would have made you more or less suspicious, though. Dude, Adam turns to Carlos. Did you arrange this? It was Emily's idea, he says, grinning at. Oh no, mister, don't you blame this on me. You were saying you liked it when all of us were together, and you were sad to miss us for Christmas this past year, and that the next celebratory thing was Adam's birthday. She smiles at Adam. Happy birthday. I'm sorry Dimitri couldn't make it. Adam seems to hesitate before moving in and hugging her, and Carlos realizes why she ruffles his hair, grinning, and he makes an annoyed noise. So, Carlos says when they separate, we have a lunch reservation, but it's a little early still, so we could start presents or something upstairs. Yeah, that's fine. Adam still seems a little dumbfounded. Later, Carlos pulls Nick against him on the couch, watching Adam open the gift from his parents, a dress shirt and a new belt, and kisses his forehead. Thanks for your help today. I didn't do anything, babe. Nick's hands find his against Nick's shoulder. Except get pregnant, apparently. Nick laughs. Sorry, it was the first thing that popped to mind. Carlos thinks for a bit, his mind jumping back to the conversation he and Nick had in Nick's parents' guest room for the holidays. Actually, on that topic, I've been thinking about kids. Hey. Yeah? Nick turns to him so he can see it. I told you that my desire to be a father came at least somewhat out of a desire to be normal and do what was expected of me. You did. We get to see, yeah. Dig it. I was kind of hoping we could see the family, but Carlos bites his lip. I think I don't want that anymore. Do what's expected, I mean. God knows the Carlos of 5 years ago would be shocked that I'm sitting here right now with a boyfriend in my arms, but I want to let go of my past and really be my own person. Interesting. He kisses Nick's forehead again. Well, my own person with you, anyway. Nick nods. That makes sense. He says, even as Carlos isn't sure it really does to him. So I think for now, I'd be happy just with you, as long as you're still sure you don't have an opinion. I don't. Nick kisses him gently. Like I said, I'm happy with whatever you decide. So if you're deciding you don't want kids, then I'm very happy not having them. Will your parents be disappointed? It's not their choice. It is not their choice. As much as Carlos had meant what he said earlier, he still can't stand the thought of disappointment. Nick shakes his head. Babe, my mom said explicitly that it was our decision and she means it. Besides, she already has her hands full with baby David, and I'm sure David and Eileen are going to have another one or two. Right, Carlos shakes his head. Also, what is it with your family and name? Wouldn't it have been easier to name the baby something other than David? I can't say anything about that, unfortunately. So, yeah. Originally, my name did in no way reflect my father's, because my dad's name was Rob. But then I was adopted. And then my name and my initials matched my adopted father's name. Almost to a T. So, fun coincidences. Nick chuckles. You don't know the half of it. I swear, my family just recycles the same 4 names around all the men. I hate Nicholas. That's my great-grandfather, Nicholas David, not me. And my grandfather's Edward David, though Edward never felt right either. Carlos kisses him, breaking as Adam sits down on the couch next to them. Patbert, Roberick. Not sure I'm in love with those. Yeah. No, it's apparently I got my name from like my mom's best friend who took her to the hospital when she was having Braxton Hicks. Which I'm not sure I fully believe. And then she told everybody that I was named after my grandmother, which I guess was also not true. And then, yeah, but my entire life, everybody, like, just saw that, like, my name and my adopted dad's name were the same. So they thought it was, like, just a that thing. And the fact that both my sisters are, like, S's and my adopted mom, her name starts with an S. So it was like, oh, all the women have S's in their name. And then because I was, like, the miracle child's son, I got the same name as our dad. And no, I don't think my birth father had any say in my name, aside from the fact that I originally had his last name, which, fun fact, would have made my initials spell app. Yeah, app. And then if I had my birth mother's last name, my initials would have spelled had. App. Yep. And then instead, I was adopted, and now my initials spell at. The exact same as my name. So, one of those funny coincidences. Now you're yes, my initials are my name, and same with my dad. Yeah. So when I sign things, like I if it does like initials, I spell just PAT, and it's great. I'm like, I don't need to change anything about this. Yeah, it's just fun. And I also was adopted on St. Patrick's Day, so Patrick was just like a very funny name for me. My initials was my adopted father's name. It was the day I was adopted, and yeah. And then the origins of it are like doused in mystery because I don't know if I can trust my birth mother with anything, including telling me things about my birth. And I can't get the other side of the story because I have no interest in meeting. So, you know. But anyways, we're not talking about that. Carlos kisses him, breaking as Adam sits down on the couch next. Dude, thanks for arranging this today. You really didn't have to. Carlos reaches over and ruffles his. Adam smiles even as he bats his hand. Happy birthday, Chico. And this was somewhat for me too. I've been missing seeing your family, even though we talk on the phone so much. Well, they're as much your family as mine, Adam says, and Carlos feels his heart warming. But thank you anyway. Carlos releases Nick, grabbing Adam instead and pulling him into a hug. He looks around the room at Adam's parents and Emily, and can feel Nick next to him. And Adam in his arms, feeling like he's taken another big step in letting go of his past. You think? Oh. He thinks he has all the family he needs right now. Okay, that was good. That was like good family things. I was nervous it was going to be bad family things. Oh, okay. And we are only not even at the 2-hour mark. So, oh, maybe there aren't more. Oh, for real? I mean, there's Family Fix. Piece by Piece is long. How long? 2 hours long or like 4 hours long? And then there are more after it. Okay. And then are more. I understand. I've learned your typing. Baby conversation. Aw. Okay, I'm down for that. Down for hearing about babies. And it's only 900 words. Carlos and Nick discuss having kids. Baby con. Point of view, Carlos. Carlos and Nick discuss having babies. I guess kids. December 23rd. Nick climbs into the guest room bed next to Carlos and kisses his. Carlos thinks briefly about how his own parents would never have allowed a girlfriend to spend the night with the same room, much less the same bed. Parents get me in a weird with stupid stuff like that. But he really doesn't want to think about his parents or girlfriends right now. Want kids? He'd been trying to understand all evening. And over dinner, why seeing Nick and David's mother, Helen, interact with her heavily pregnant daughter-in-law, Eileen, had bothered him so much. Until he realized that he'd always seen children in his future. Then he suddenly wasn't sure if that was a possibility anymore. 2010. Okay, so by 2010, there are, depending on where you are, which you're in California, There are like laws in place that kids can definitely be. Granted, that's a consistent changing worry in America for some weird freaking reason. But also, yes, it's a conversation to have with your partner. Nick just smiles at him, and it's more infuriating than it should be. Do you? Carlos shakes his head. Nick kisses him gently. Honestly, it's not something that I have strong feelings for one way or the other. So that's a no. Just a by the by in my books, that's a no. Not like he's lying, but if I'm considering having kids and the person that I'm considering having kids with is like, maybe, that's a no to me. If you have children, like all in, full ass, like you're gonna do it. You're gonna do all the things, you're gonna be present, and you're like it is a large, substantial, not like not short-term life change. So someone without strong feelings about it until they obtain strong feelings about it it's a no. I'd be happy to just have a partner. I'd be happy to have a partner and some kids. It'd really depend on him, on you. I mean, I think there's a difference between I'm fine either way and I'm not going to be engaged with my children at all. And that's true. I'm going to take it that you infused a little bit of yourself in this with maybe your opinion of having kids, which is fine. I just feel like maybe it's so interesting playing this game and getting to know you as like a friend because it makes me feel like I know things about you on a little bit like of a different level. Um, but anyway, um, I feel like to have children, you need to be like full force ready for that type of life change. Um, because it's like once you say yes, once you do it, that is your life forever. It is changed. You can't like return them. Like yeah, you can't be like, I mean, I guess we can have kids. Yeah. It and I can see like they're both young and they're obviously focusing on other things right now. Um but like I want to be a dad. I've always wanted to be. That has been a strong part of like my God damn it, you can't? Oh, sorry, Sil. No. You're kind of stuck. You're stuck for the rest of your life. But I very much want to be it. And so my partner, it's very important to see a father in them. Not in like a weird Freudian way, but like to see that they can be affectionate, caring, that they can care for another being without anything needing to like be reciprocated back to them because kids will not do that. To an extent they will, but like a 13-year-old will not reciprocate you wanting to be a part of their life in the same way. And once they like grow up and get their own lives, typically it takes quite a while for them to understand like, oh, my parents are people. So like I need to see a partner that's like okay with that being a part of their future and wanting that. Still having an existential crisis. A 13-year-old will probably fight you wanting to be part of their life and then realize they were idiots when they're maybe. I kind of fought my parents being part of my life at 13, and I realized that I was very right. And granted, I have already said in this stream that I'm a big grudge holder, but yes, there's so many things I would have changed. Not really, because I'm the person I am today because of everything, but like Yes. And also that's part of it too, is that like I'm confident in my abilities to become a dad and like try and help my child grow with the knowledge that they could hate me and that I can fuck something up so bad that they don't want me to be in their life. And while that would suck and would, I'm aware that that's a possibility and need to be okay with that. But yeah, so like that's like this conversation looks very different to me. Where like I feel like if I ever had a partner like Nick who was like, kids, maybe not, or just you, maybe not. Like that's an instant no to me. I'm like, all right, we will revisit this when you have an because it is something I want to do. But yes, there's also like the whole like how long do we wait and yada yada. Like I'm pushing 30, and I definitely thought that kids would have been in my picture by now. But pandemic and terrible circumstances, people, and not being able to fully like get things together the way that I had hoped by about 30. I'm glad that I have waited. But also terrified of being the old dad at daycare. Like there's gonna be a bunch of kids there in their early 20s, and I'm gonna be there at like 35, like, oh yep, I'm, you know, grabbing the 4-year old. Everyone just looking at me like you're gonna be in your 50s, almost 60s by the time they graduate. I know. um, yeah, that's fair. I think if kids are super important to you, then having a partner who also really wants them matters a lot. There's having and not having kids isn't a deal breaker. And then, I guess I'll help you spawn something if you want. Good way to put it, Sil. Nick is Nick is intended to be the former of having isn't a deal breaker. Spoiler, like me. Bob, please don't have kids if you still have this attitude. We're not having kids. Oh, wait. I read it wrong anyway. Did you think it was the latter? There has not been a Godot day for focus. A Godot day? Oh wow, yeah. Yeah, somehow I read ladder. um yeah, not having kids isn't a deal breaker. Yeah, I feel like the Godot day. Oh. Yeah. It, I feel like specifically with kids, and then like some career aspirations are things that like my age me with that make me like, all right, we gotta hurry up, we gotta get on this train quicker. And then I look at my circumstances, I'm like, or maybe not. Hey hubby, I guess we can spawn some offspring. Hubby, what? Oh, that's great. That's great. Yeah, considering not having them not a deal breaker for you. Yeah, I guess you can do. Uh um Carlos likes the feeling he gets from hearing it that Nick's thought about a further future with the two. Kids aren't something you can just be apathetic about though. They're a commitment. Wow, I should have just waited. I should have just waited like a line, literally. You didn't answer the question. Do you want kids? He thinks for a minute about how to frame his answer. I do. At least I think I do. I don't know how much of it is actually wanting kids and how much of it is the straight and heteronormative box I tried to fit myself into. All of his future visions for kids had included a wife as well. He isn't sure how to reconcile the two. That's fair. Nick lays back in bed and holds Carlos's hand. Well, if it's important to you, then it's important to me. And I'm happy to help you figure out if it's important to you, if you want. But like I said, I've never felt strongly one way or another. It's one of the things that bothers Carlos about Nick. He's always so differential, even on things that he really should have an opinion. Carlos thinks he knows Nick well enough by now that he can tell when something really bothers Nick. Nick's emotions aren't hard to read anyway, but same. It's a constant thing. I can't do anything about my face. Spoilers, this is also me. Growing up, it was like, of course I'll have kids because that's what you do. And also, I guess that also means having a wife. Weird fact, I always imagined myself with a kid eventually, but I never really imagined myself with a husband. Interesting. I think that was from me growing up with a single mom. Fair. It was hard to imagine a guy in that picture. Makes sense. That's oddly empowering. Yeah, it's funny the lives that we envision for ourselves that take some hard turns. Uh I know when I hello. Come in. Come up. Okay. Ahsoka was acting like she wanted attention and then didn't. Correct, Kitty. When I think about like when I was a kid, I grew up with two sisters. Fun fact, I have three sisters and a brother, but I grew up with two sisters. And of the three of us, we would always talk about like who's gonna do this first, who's gonna do this first, who's gonna do this first, as if we were all even remotely close to the same age. And my eldest sister was like convinced she was gonna have 5 husbands. Gonna kiss the guy first. That is many husbands. Yes, she thought that she would have like had plastic surgery, would have had many husbands, like the whole kit and caboodle, like a real housewife, like but amped up by 100. And I think part of that comes from the fact that my sister was almost a child star, which still bugs me. At once or sequentially? Sequentially. Like, yeah. It was gonna, have like a slew of them that happen one right after the other and get like very serious about them and then have like tragic divorces or something. Yeah. But yeah, she almost had a TV show when she was like 5, but decided she didn't like waking up early and doing the hours for it, so she quit. And then here I come. I'm like, I want to be an actor. I want to be a star. And they kept 0 contacts because I was the boy, so I was going to be a football player, a basketball player. I do the sports thing. No. Nope. Your boy got adjudicated for a Bobby G award over here. He ain't playing in the NFL. But yeah, no, and out of like all of us, only one of us kind of had the life that they envisioned for themselves. Because my eldest sister like definitely envisioned herself the way I just imagined, and she has one husband. And I think if she ever left him for any reason, or if he left her for any reason, not that it really would ever happen, I think they would both be so tired that they just never get married again. So I think they're in it for the long haul. She also does not have lips the size of Kentucky. um, and is not, you know, is not a real housewife as far as that's concerned. Um, and then like my middle sister was very much the idea of like white picket fence, husband, children, yada yada. Pretty much wanted the same life that our mom has, and she has that. She has a house that used to be our grandmother's house. Um, she has kids, a husband, great. And then I was very similar, where I was like, I want a wife and kids and a good job so I can be the provider. Granted, I do provide a lot for all of my all of my boyfriends. That sounds wrong. No. For all of my relationships, I have been the breadwinner. And in many of them, I have been both the bread and butter winner. Uh, and even when that wasn't the case, I still took care of like all of the household stuff. Um, no kids, no kids yet. That is something I want, but I'm very aware that like right now, I could not. I could not. No wife, no wifey for me unless I find the absolute perfect woman that like I have to turn away from Dorian, like, you know, is the perfect woman for me. But outside of finding her, no wife in sight for me. So yeah, 1 out of 3 kids having like the dream life. No, wife, what happened to Matt? You two are engaged. Well, yeah, we're engaged, but I was planning on being very dramatic at the wedding. And just at the very last minute when they're doing like the, ooh, either when they're doing the, do you take blah, 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 I wanted to be like standing there in my dress because I would be the one in the dress. Um, and then suddenly like pull my veil back and be like, I can't. And then start bawling and run back down the aisle. Um, or when they're at the beginning of it and they do the whole like, is there any reason that these two should not be wed? Speak now or forever hold your peace bit. I want someone I don't even know to run it, or I want like Tara Reid or someone that I need to get off of like, um, off of not Cameo, but the one where you can actually hire them to show up to things. Um, one of them to like come in and just say, I object, and then we can't legally get married. Because, fun fact, even if you say it as a joke, the couple can't get married. So never do that if you actually want the couple to get married. Are you allowed to object to your own wedding? I like how much you planned this out, like your engagement. I think so long and hard about everything. And half the time, in order to get my brain to just be satiated for it, I make it hilarious. So that's what I want. I forget what we stopped for. um, it's one of the things that bothers. Yep. Carlos thinks he knows Nick. Not hard to read. Right. I can't do anything about my face. That's a me thing. Yep. Hey, Mad. Pat's planned out your wedding in his head. Yep. Yep. I have many weddings planned. I have my wedding to Syl planned in my head. It is gorgeous, and I love New Zealand. I find that I love New Zealand. The first time that I'm there, and we end up in like a 90-day fiance situation. So yes, exactly. Oh my. Mm-hmm. It would be my way of getting out of here, like America, like this situation. Okay, Carlos says instead of all the other things he wants to say. Thank you. Nick turns towards him frowning. And you should have realized that Nick can read him now too. And he should have realized Nick can read him now too. This is bothering you. Just that you always care so much about what I want, and I worry that it's coming at the expense of what you want. Oh my god, this conversation. When Nick and I when Dorian and I when Dorian and I um first decided that we were going to live together, we were picking things out for the apartment, and we wanted matching flatware. Not flat, yeah, flatware. Table settings, whatever. Plates. We wanted plates, and so we found like a bunch of different ones, and we were scrolling through and we found like this set of like stoneware plates. Plates. Just plates. Um and they had like a cool design. They were like teal and bluish with like blackish on it, and I'm like, "Oh, that's right up my color palette." Whatever. And I was telling him like, "Yeah, I really like it. Really like it. Get them, get them." And then he was like, "I want to make sure that you want these." I'm like, "Well, now I'm do you want them? You're the one that sent them to me, but do you want them, or did you just pick them because you thought I would like them? Because I don't want you to pick something that you just think I'm going to like that you're not going to want." Legitimately, we did not decide on these plates for 2 hours in a text message conversation back and forth because we wanted to be sure that the other person wasn't giving in what they really wanted. For freaking plates. Hang on. For this. This was a 2 hour conversation of us not wanting the other person to give in to what the other person wanted. Pat is bringing the plate evidence. Oh, those are nice. They are nice. See? They're great. There was no question. It's a good plate. And we wanted to have this exact conversation of, I don't want you giving up your happiness for something that I want. Oh my God. Anyway. Nick shakes his head, letting go of Carlos's hand and propping himself up on his elbows. "Babe, I love you. You're important to me." Even more frustrating, and Carlos tries not to take it out on him. "But you're important too, and I know you're happy to defer to me on a lot of things, but I think this is one where I really need you to have an opinion." Agreed. Kids is something where I need my partner to have an opinion, partially because it tells me if we're aligning on the same path. Nick nods, seemingly thinking. "Okay, then let me say that I have imagined both. Wade didn't want kids, so for a while, I'd imagined my future without them. But when I was growing up, and with my first boyfriend in high school, I'd imagined us with 2 kids, a boy and a girl, and thought about how I'd have to bring her to mom for all those things that my husband and I wouldn't know. Up. Not to my mom, but up." Nick frowns. "So I legitimately don't think I have an opinion here, babe. I think you'd be an amazing dad, and I would love that for us if it's what you want, but I really think this one is you." I think that response is okay, but I'm still with Carlos on this, that like you need to have kind of a yes or no. I'm sure he's gonna say like, "That makes sense," and I'm fine with that answer. But for me, I would like you to say, "Yes, I've imagined my life with kids, and I think there's something I want." Or, "I've imagined my life with kids, and there's something that I no longer wish." That's a more satisfying answer, at least. Okay, it is satisfying, I'll say that. Also, practically speaking, med school and residency are long and busy. Plenty of people have kids during those years, but it wouldn't feel fair to you to have to shoulder that burden by yourself. This makes a little bit more sense. Like, let's not have this full conversation until later when we're focused on different things. So if I do have an opinion, it's that we wait until I actually have a job somewhere, or at least have my residence, so I can be more collaborative so it can be more collaborative with both of us. And that means waiting until I'm almost 30 or older than 30. In case that makes a difference to you. See, like, to me, that sounds like a nightmare, in spite of the fact that I know that that's what I'm faced with at the moment. And forever. Being 30 or older is what I'm faced with forever now. I am going to not be 30 for 8 more months, I think. Yeah. So. Happy almost birthday. Yeah, almost. Big almost. Yeah, happy 50th. Sorry I missed the other 49 for you. Plenty of people have kids in their 30s. Carlos isn't sure if it's meant to be reassuring or if he's even trying to reassure himself, but it just comes to mind. But okay, that makes sense. Nick's looking at him, as if studying his face. Babe, I really want to make sure you're okay with this. Carlos nods. I am, he says, and he thinks he actually is now. I'm sorry for pressing. No, this is a relationship conversation very much worth pressing. To me. I'm not everybody, but my opinion is the only one that matters. So. Nick smiles, kissing him again before lying back down. No, I think you're right, and it's an important one to talk about. If two people have strong opinions and disagree, not expressing that disagreement would be a great way to create resentment, and I never want to resent you. Or for you to resent me. Carlos lies back in bed, taking Nick's hand in his. I don't think I ever could. Good. New profiles. John, David, Eileen, and Alright, so that is out. Everything except for piece by piece. We've slipped past 2 hours. We have slipped right on past 2 hours. How many words is this? 9,000. All right, my limit was going. You can test out the quick save, so you can stop in the middle of piece by piece. Okay, that is also an option. Fair enough. Yeah, my limit was going to be if it was like 17,000 again. But 9,000 we should probably be able to relatively do in about 2 hours, depending on how like huffy I end up feeling. In theory, the load button in the main menu will pick up where you quit. Bob will shut up now. Go, go, go! Alright. Excuse me, oh my god, that sounded so attractive, me just dying. You know, gotta keep those people coming for that great ASMR of my asthmatic little lungs. Alright. Warning, I mean, some people are into that. Exactly. That's, if you look for my OnlyFans, that's all it is just me weeping and coughing. And not to brag, but I make a whole $3 a month. Warning, sexual content. I should make a command for OnlyFans. That's actually a pretty brilliant idea, if I do say so myself. Oh, this also reminds me. Thank you, Sil. Oh, Sil, you're only phlegms. Oh, that's great. Thank you, Sil. You just reminded me that I have to write a million other things down. OnlyFans. You know, I'm really lucky that I don't have a very jealous boyfriend, because I'm gonna have a note on my desk that just says OnlyFans on it, And he sometimes comes in here. And if he saw that, he probably would not really have questions for me. Just like when he sees that like I have an entire email chain with Bob that says yes, daddy. That's the subject line. You saw that? Didn't bat an eye. All right. Carlos and Nick plan and then have their wedding. Piece by piece. Point of view. Carlos. Carlos and Nick plan and have their wedding. Oh my. Look at everybody. So dapper and mature. Tuesday, March 15th. Carlos feels like he's floating through the entire celebratory dinner, surrounded by Adam's parents and Nick's parents and his best friend and his boyfriend, fiance, and smothered in love and affection. He keeps staring at the ring on his finger, almost unable to believe it's real. The conversation is comfortable and casual, and by the time dessert comes, he's starting to feel a slight buzz from the wine. You lightweight. Oops, that should be 1E. Oh, fiance. Hey. Fiance. Nick's dad stands and waits as everybody notices and calms down. I'd like to propose a toast. Nick slings his arm over Carlos' shoulder. Carlos leans against him and finds the hand on his shoulder with his own, as he finds his wine glass with the other. To my brilliant son, Nicholas. Carlos doesn't miss the way Nick cringes beside him. Best friend, Adam. Carlos likes the sound of that. And our soon-to-be son-in-law, Carlos. Really likes the sound of that. Congratulations on all your accomplishments, which are all well-deserved for your hard work and dedication that all of you have put in. May all of you continue to find success and happiness together, no matter where life may take you. It is so supportive. I have a feeling that if my father-in-law gave a toast to us at any point, it would probably be something to the effect of like, welcome to the family, Patrick. We're glad to have you. Congrats, son. Short, sweet, and to the point. He raises his glass, and there's general murmured agreement around. It's a short toast, fitting for what Carlos knows of his father. Carlos clinks his glass with Nick's, smiling at the look in his eyes. They both drink, and Nick's hand shifts slightly, moving on top of his and running his fingers over the ring. He really likes the way that feels. Aww. I like Dorian's pain. Which I feel very fortunate about. I have had exes who I did not quite enjoy their parent as much. And I'm also grateful that Dorian never has to debate whether or not he likes mine. So Nick, Adam's mother is smiling at the two of them. Adam won't tell us what his number 2 school was, and we're curious where we could have lost him to. What was your second choice? Bold of you to assume UCSF was number... That's still not weird to me. UCSF was number 1. It seems to be an automatic reaction because Nick immediately flushes when he remembers he's not talking to Carlos or Adam. Sorry, we actually did the couples match, so we had the same list. So there's not really a my second choice because it was our second choice. I have great in-laws. I'm happy for you. It's disheartening when people don't get along with their in-laws. But I know that happens, and that happens somewhat often-ish. I actually follow a page on Instagram that is just like daughter-in-law trying to put out good advice for mother-in-laws on how to treat their daughters-in-law. And why, if they're not treating them that way, why maybe they should expect to not be around their children more and their grandchildren more. So, yeah. Carlos's ears suddenly feel hot. You did that for me? Adam laughs and slaps a hand on his back. Well, we also No, we also, Nick starts at the same time. They both stop and Nick chuckles. It wasn't just for you, babe. I think Adam and I also hit it off so well that we wanted to make sure we stayed together. Adam's hand pats his back before he pulls it away. It was actually Nick's idea. I actually had mostly missed that it was even an option, but he pointed it out and we both immediately decided it was the right choice. Carlos likes how Adam used he for that, feeling slightly less guilty about it. Um, and then we also ranked them by region because we wanted to make sure Carlos wouldn't have to change too much with his job. So UC Fresno was number 2, then Kern. Just is that just no mother-in-laws? Curious. Cool. I've been here since the scene that Bob forgot to censor. Welcome in, Josh. Well, that's gonna get some attention from me later. Not the you being late. Um, you know, after trying to swindle me out of points yesterday, which you should feel deep shame for. But the Reddit that Bob just put in. I put it back on. I put it. Acting like you weren't all trying to just. Hey Josh, did Jake and Nate pick up that pickle de gallo yet? I was desperate to win. You won with it on. It taking it off helped you exactly 0%. I watched that. Great, he was unaware of it until he read your message just now. Jake and Nate found pickle flavored gummy vitamins. Whoa! They're out of stock, thank goodness. Yeah. Yeah, that. Why? That's evil. Okay. Love that. Love that for you. So that's gonna quickly turn into a redeem on your stream, I'm sure. Taking a pickle vitamin. I would rather go without nutrients. Fair enough. If it came down to, you know, malnutrition or pickles, malnutrition is that's fair. Carlos can't quite believe how much they'd done for him. He shrugs Nick's hand off, grabbing it with his other hand instead so he can squeeze it under the table. He resists the urge to kiss him, for now. You're always staying around this part of the country. So you were always staying around this part of the country, sweetheart? There's no bitterness or malevolence in Nick's mother's question, although Carlos still flinches some. My life is here, Mom. And by the way, Nick looks at Carlos. He knows he's talking about him. It's just always felt more right here to me than anywhere else I've been. So I thought I didn't want to change that as much as I could. It's nice when you can feel that way. I don't have that. I don't have that feeling. Malnutrition is pickle vitamins. There's Aldi's out here, apparently, according to Jake and 8. Okay, but Josh hates pickles, so pickle vitamins. But the mal in malnutrition. So sad. True. Ugh. Actually curious. Pickle multivitamin. What? I was assuming that you were saying that the pickle del pick, oh, pickle del Gallo was at Aldi's, or is it something else? Also, hi, hello. I'm trying to find these pickle vitamins. To be honest, what are they called again? Aldi's. Mm, Aldi's. Aldi's pickle vitamins. Ew, that's disgusting. I didn't find the vitamins, but I found a 6-pack of pickle juice. Of sport pickle juice. And that's what I get for being curious. Not just pickle juice. Sport pickle juice. What is the difference? I don't want to know. Yeah, that's it has some partnership with the pickleball league. Like pickles, but why would you just drink pickle juice? There's so many people that straight up just drink pickle juice. Absolutely disgusting. There's people that like cut it with drinks. No, not for me. Not for me. At least make a dry martini with it. Bob, you're a monster. You're a monster. Cheers to bubbies. Oh. Interesting. I want something to drink now. This happens every Tuesday. We have a soda stream, so carbonated pickle juice mimosas it is. Having a LaCroix. What? I don't know what's more disappointing about those back-to-back statements. A pickle juice mimosa, which I think is a crime. I'm pretty sure that's just a war crime. Or LaCroix in general. Which are not technically illegal, but should. We're both just so happy for you. We're also happy for all of you. It kisses his cheek again. I'm happy for us too. Later. Are you sure? Actually, Matt, if you're still in here, you can ban Bob again. Are you sure you don't need us to get back to the hotel? Carlos stuffs his hand in his pockets, finding the weather slightly cooler than he preferred tonight, but immediately feeling better when Nick wraps his arm around him, pulls him closer. Ban Bob. I hate salt and oil and love carbonated pickle juice. Ban me, Daddy. Bob. Yeah, oh. Apparently Matt's doing something too busy, so you're getting off easy. I stand by that statement. You're getting off easy. Nonsense. The Uber is on its way and we can find our way around the city. We'll just see you tomorrow for breakfast. Nick nods and lets him go, hugging his father and then his... That sounds good. No, I got banned. Did you? Oh my god. Oh, I wish... Oh, I have to take a picture of this. Oh my god. This is amazing. This is amazing. It could be a little bit more amazing. But I'm gonna switch over real quick to just chatting. Because, oh, I have to take a picture of this. Mostly because I might want a doctor. But so when you got banned, it deleted your messages. Go ahead. You all. I'm saving Bob's band. So when it got rid of all of your messages, it tells me how many messages got deleted. And apparently 96 got deleted, which is very close to 69. So, right on. Anyway, now that I'm done being a child. 1 by default because Bob conceded. 96. Yeah, it's when you're like back to back. Oh, good golly, Miss Molly. All right. I actually can put it back on the game. I almost just continued without doing that. Is professional. Congratulations again, sweetheart, on both the residency and the engagement. We're looking forward to having you in our family, Carlos, his dad says, holding out his hand before thinking better of it, and instead pulling him into a hug. Officially, I mean. Thank you. I promise I'll always do right by him, Mr. Price. Hey, I told you last time, it's John. Bats is back, and I know you will. You're the kindest, most generous man I know. I'll be proud to call you my son. All right, Bob, did you really have this great of an experience with your in-laws? Because if so, oof. Oof. Oh, Carlos holds back tears as they separate, and he's pulled into a hug with Nick's mother instead. Thank you. That means a lot. And it's Helen, sweetheart. Or Mom. Helen, Carlos repeats, still finding it foreign, despite himself. He still calls Adam's parents Mr. and Mrs. Pruitt, and he resolves to try harder with that too. Thank you. She pulls away, putting her hands on his cheek instead, and they're surprisingly warm. Thank you, Carlos. Car's here, honey. He pats his cheeks tenderly. This is one of them. We'll see you both tomorrow. Carlos watches them get into the car and watches it drive away, hand firmly in his fiancée. That was really nice, he says, feeling content. Not quite this great, but I do really get along with them. I'm gonna say, if this was like the actual encounter or like on par with the encounter, like, you are truly something to behold. Also, I do like, based on what you were saying, I see some similarities with like you and Nick. With like, you had pretty amicable, good, forgiving relationship. So, you know, can't fully relate, but Nick nods and kisses him quickly. It was. Can I ask you something? Carlos feels a little brave, maybe lingering from the wine at dinner. You can always ask me anything. The hand squeezes. Can I take your last name? Aww. Nick seems surprised by that and looks at him with what Carlos takes as affection mixed with concern. Hey, you don't have to do that for me. I know, but I want to. He struggles to explain, I'm not that person anymore. Nick, and not just because I'm older and more comfortable with myself and more responsible. He isn't sure he likes the sound of that. And he must cringe because Nick chuckles and kisses him. You've always been responsible. Okay, but you didn't know me in undergrad. But, my name's also the last thing tying me to my family. I get this. Yep. Dorian and I have had this conversation. He pauses, realizing the anger towards the people that raised him to replace. He pauses, realizing the anger towards the people that raised him is replaced now with indifference, and he thinks it's an improvement. Well, to the people who aren't my family anymore. I don't want to be my family anymore, if that makes sense. I want a clean start, and I know it's maybe not fair to ask you to give that to me. Something I'd like to do, but only if it's okay with you. Yep. Debating if I want to comment on this. But yeah, Dorian and I have had this conversation about what our last name is going to be. Are married, and neither of us are taking the other's last. So the concern seems to be gone from Nick's face. He takes that as a good sign. Of course it's okay. I just don't want you to feel like you have to do that for me. I'd be overjoyed though if it's something you want to do for you because you feel like it help. I feel like that's pretty common among same-sex couples. Yeah, I think so. I think either you don't take anybody's name, you both hyphenate, or you change it. Or they hyphenate, yeah. And we're straight up, not like, we're getting rid of both of our last names. So, for somewhat similar reasons to that, I guess. It would. His chest feels lighter, and he feels comfortable enough again to crack a joke. So, how do we feel about Pruitt Price? Nick laughs full in his chest, and Carlos loves what that does to him. Why does Adam's name come first? Why not Price Pruitt? Because that doesn't sound as good, baby. Actually, that's pretty fair. Pruitt Price sounds better than Price Pruitt. And also, it sounds like some bad Fisher-Price knockoff toys. That is true. Pruitt Price sounds like a law firm. Yeah, which is still more impressive than a Fisher-Price knockoff. If you're gonna have like a toy knockoff, make it Hasbro. I'll have to go back to school and become an attorney. Then we can be Pruitt, Price, Price, and Pruitt. Nick shakes his head, smiling. Medical law, I hope. Carlos kisses him. Of course. Were you still wanting to spend the night? Nick is serious again, and his eyes betray the need they're both feeling. What, the dinner wasn't enough to celebrate our engagement? The dinner was to celebrate our residence. We haven't celebrated our engagement yet. Hasbro? We Hasbros. I stand corrected. Carlos kisses him again. Then maybe you should take me home, Dr. Price. And we can see if we can't fix that oversight. I think we should. They start walking in the direction of Nick's apartment, a bit faster than usual, both feeling the urgency. Carlos Rodrigo Price. He tries it out, liking the sound of it already, despite it feeling slightly awkward. Maybe I should change my middle name too. You can have mine, I hate it. I'm not sure I'm really an Edward. He thinks for a second. Carlos Nicholas Price. He tries and Nick cringes. That's not that much better. Maybe I'll think more about that one. Well, whatever you decide, Mr. Price Pruitt. I hope you always know how much I love you, regardless of whatever monstrosity your name may be. He looks into Nick's eyes, shining with promises and visions of the future that he knows will continue to make him unbearably happy. He grins. I know. I love you too. Tuesday, March 28th. We skip the celebration. Must still be using that pineapple nonsense. Shush, starting, babe. Carlos starts to complain about how boring it is to listen to GeoStream? I'm curious. It is the link. Got it. Got it. Sick. Instead of watching something on TV, or how Nick could listen to it later if it was available on the internet anyway, especially given how early it was. But he stops when he sees the expression on Nick's face. hopeful but filled with worry. He wishes he could do something to fix the latter part. So he shuts his mouth and snuggles up next to his fiancée on Nick's bed, sharing a pair of earbuds with him and trying to understand the argument being laid out in the biggest courtroom in the country, thousands of miles away, that would still have a very direct impact on his life over the next months. A bit shorter than he expected. Over, he looks up at the clock, finding that only about 80 minutes have passed. What do you think? He isn't sure he was following it enough, or understood enough about how the legal system and judges work to really know what to expect. I don't know, babe. Nick's brows furrowed. I haven't tried to listen to any oral arguments before, but I don't really follow the court, so I don't know. That's fair. It's a lot of just like weird back and forth. Then this was a waste of time, he thinks. But he realizes this was important to Nick, so it should also be important to him. He kisses Nick's temple instead. So what? We'll know next week? No, you'll know. Pretty instantly. I don't remember if I've told you this before, since Pennsylvania, right? Yes, since Pennsylvania. Since Pennsylvania legalized same-sex marriage before Lagerfeld, there was a period of time after hubby and I were married where we would magically be unmarried whenever we left the state, like to see the in-laws. So even if Oberfell didn't have as direct an effect on our day-to-day lives, it still mattered a lot. Yeah, no, I totally get that. Even not being married, like I did follow this stuff because I am very unhappy in the West. And so I just realized that Nick's shirt is torn. So yeah, I like kind of tried to keep tabs on where my marriage would be considered a marriage. And yeah, granted, like here, it's pretty much been a thing like since I came out. So I didn't really worry about it here, but I was like, I definitely hate Colorado, and I don't want to be here for very much longer. And yeah, so I understand like I'm married. I'm not married here though. But I'm married here, but I'm not married here, which especially like out in the east, considering like you can drive an hour and be in a totally different state, is a touch more of like a concern, as opposed to like here, Colorado. Like you have to pretty much be very intentionally driving into another state to end up somewhere else. So yeah, it's funny. One of our friends from Maryland, she was visiting some family in Texas, and she knows that Texas was right next is still presently right next to New Mexico, and this is when we were living. And so she messaged us and was like, "Hey, do you guys want to like get lunch? We're in Texas." And both of us were like, "What? Honey, like yes, the states are right next to each other, but it would take us literally like 7 hours to get to anywhere close to a midway point." So Texas was next to Mexico, Pat. Texas is next to New Mexico. New Mexico. Oh yeah, I used to live in San Francisco, and hubby was like, California and Arizona touch. How far could it be to drive to Arizona? It can be a while. In a lot of nothing. Yeah. Yeah. It's funny, for as much as I dislike the West, I have spent time in like California, Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, obviously. I want to go to like Washington. I think that's literally like the only place that I to go in the West. Yeah. And then aside from that, I'm like, I should have just moved out east when I was younger. For whatever reason, I keep like having this affinity for finding people in the east that I connect really well with, that I think are just like super cool, that I like ingratiate themselves in my life. Madeline. Madeline is from the East. I had to pick her up from the East Coast to bring her here. So, yeah. Needless to say, in about a year's time, barring any more terrible family medical things happening, we will no longer be in the West. Hopefully. You're talking shit. Yeah, I'm talking about how you're New Jersey trash. Yep. That's what we were talking about. So what? We'll know next week. Nick laughs at that before looking apologetic, but Carlos doesn't take offense. All right, so this is Dorian and I whenever there's something political happening. Because I am into politics. And Dorian likes knowing what's happening, but he is not into or understands politics quite as well. So when he hears political things, or I talk to him about political things, he needs like short version. This is me and hubby too. Which one are you? The one that cares or the one that just knows? Hubby's been following the Trump trial and starts talking to me about it. I'm like, wait, what? Yeah. Yeah. My profession is so interesting, and this does relate, because I have the luxury of having done massage in Albuquerque, where, fun fact, there's a big nuclear base. And so a lot of people from the military go in and out of there. And then I'm also presently in Colorado, which has a few different military base sites. And the place that I am at has a military base site. And so I get a lot of government people that get on my table. And when they feel like they trust you and they're like super relaxed, they just tell you whatever. So, like, in regards to, say, a certain former president, I know things that are apparently government secrets about a former president, that make me feel volatilely disgusted by him or them, the person. I say as if we've had a woman president. This is America. But yeah, that makes me like sick to my core about who they are and the fact that our government knows these things about him and are refusing to release the information about him. So, yeah, I really hope that enough things are in this individual's other trials to put him away for a long time, because he definitely deserves it. My first haircut after COVID was interesting because the hairdresser apparently thought I looked conservative and started ranting to me about masks and people not wanting to work anymore because of government handouts and checks. And the entire time I was like, because she was holding scissors next to my face. Same. Yeah. I, yeah, my first post COVID haircut was technically done for, it wasn't really post COVID, kind of still while things were shut down. And it's because my boyfriend at the time didn't like that I could tie my hair back, which why that mattered to me, I don't know. But yeah, so he dragged me to this dude who was all about how like, oh nope, this isn't changing anything for him. If everybody else wants to be sheeple and you know conform to COVID things, that's their new norm, not his new norm. Like, bitch, everyone is changing things. Like, you can try and fight this all you want. You're not special. You're not changing how everybody is reacting to this very real, very scientific, very taking people's lives thing. Yeah. It just got me. My phone just died. Um was not me. It was not Dorian. Dorian was not the one that dragged me there. No, this was pre-Dorian. Dorian and I met like towards the very, very end of the pandemic when things were like opening up and yada yada. And we mostly abided by all of the rules together. But yeah, no. COVID was just it was, especially because my industry is considered like medical. It was such an interesting time, and I was living with a nurse through all of that who was uh, yeah. I was living with a nurse who did not take COVID at all seriously, and it was just a freaking nightmare because I like wanted to be able. I didn't want to get sick. A, I was terrified of that. B, I wanted to be able to like go see my infant niece when it was over. I wanted to like go to my sister's wedding, which was happening towards the tail end of COVID. Um, I like wanted to make sure I was abiding by as many rules as possible to make sure that I could do all the things. And he just like didn't care. And uh, uh yeah. Anyway, I feel like the pandemic did one of two things for couples: brought them closer together or made them unable to ignore the things that bothered them about their partner anymore. Split them up. Pretty fair. Hospital work, but I took the pandemic very hospital worker, but I took the pandemic very seriously because Josh is a good person and Pat is a good person. Love that you threw that in there. Meanwhile, I worked at a church. Yeah. Yeah, no. I like went I went from a nurse wasn't even um I have technically more medical credentials than he. And so I could not stand his like attitude about himself. Um but anyways, went from a nurse that didn't take COVID seriously to being with Dorian, who mostly took it seriously, but worked for a church that like took COVID as a political stance against God, and yeah, was terrible. I very actively pursued Dorian quitting his job and just letting me take care of our finances. The second that that option was available, I I will be as open about this as possible. I pressured him so hard to quit his job and let me take care of him while he was going to college because it was better than him going to a place that, like, openly was fine with getting fined hundreds of dollars every week for not abiding by COVID practices. Can't stand people. Can't stand people. I verbally got in disagreements with people over it. It was unfortunate. Who knows? So many churches were like that. God is above disease. Yeah, you know what? Oh, yeah, that's not how disease works, honey. No, it's not. And then after congregation members died at that church, um, still was a thing. Still was their stance that, not in God's house. People don't get sick, and that wasn't a COVID death. That's the doctors were just chalking it up to COVID death and blah blah blah. Tragic, but it was God's will. I can't fucking. Okay, even worse. Yeah, no, freaking awful. And then I had people from that church like come into my work and try and like convert me to their church. I, ugh, ugh, ugh. I have so many people that come across my table and people that try and convert me to things are the absolute worst. I've had like 9/11 deniers. I've had people that try and convert me to their beliefs. I have people that try and tell me that like we don't want universal health care because when they went to Canada, they still had to pay and had to wait a few hours. Like, bitch, in America, you would have had to wait days. Freaking days. ugh, I just people. I swear, people, and like kills me, dead. My family. I have no problem like outing my family with my family was also like not my sisters, not my sisters. My sisters are well, they have good heads on their shoulders. One of my sisters is a huge germaphobe, so the fact that COVID was at all a thing locked her inside completely. My other sister is totally level-headed about everything. Um, to an extent that like there are things that we don't agree on because I sometimes have impassioned responses. Um, but my mother in specific was a vehement like, oh, you Dems and you Libs are all living in fear with this COVID nonsense, blah blah blah. And then our elderly grandmother that lived with her died. You want to know who never got the cause of death? This guy. No one told me what finally took her away from her. But you know who has a pretty good idea about what it was and has a ton of photographic evidence of someone, say, out at Trump rallies or doing whatever? Yep. Yep. I always told people that God gave us the knowledge on how to keep ourselves safe, just as an argument with them. Like, he didn't make us dumb, or at least not all of us, right? Like, that, okay. I know Family Guy is not exactly the place to go for all of your good life advice, but there is an episode about vaccination, where there is a Christian Science family whose son has cancer, and their answer is to pray over him. I'm gonna go to just because we're not playing. Their child has cancer, and their answer to that is to pray over it, and God will heal him. And at the end of the episode, Lois like legitimately tries kidnapping the child to get them, medical treatment. And Lois has this like emboldened speech about like, do you think that penicillin, vaccinations, like all of these great drugs that prevent disease are actually answered prayers? People pray all the time for a cure to a disease or to have their loved ones not be sick and not feel awful all the time. And then medical science comes out with cures. Those could be answered prayers that you're spitting in God's face and just saying no to because a Democrat said yes to it. Like, ugh. God works in mysterious ways. Yeah, like scientists discovering vaccines. Exactly. Yeah. And that's always been my thing on it. Like, I used to be a fairly religious guy, to an extent that I'm like kind of embarrassed about it. But that was always like my thing, was that like if something presented itself in the world as a positive, my brain was like, that is an answered prayer. That is, that is something that God has decided will make our world better for us, that we've earned, that we deserved. Or, that his grace and love will, whatever. But yeah, so when people would make those arguments, or like about global warming, and people are like, that God would never do that. Okay. Hey. Is that the spinach thing? That island green? Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you. He's fine. Brief intermission. Modern American Christians is just homeopathic Christianity. Takes nothing of actual teachings, dilutes it in hate and fanaticism. Pretty accurate, yeah. Because modern American Christianity is also like, Also has just a lot of the people that believe that are typically like hard right people, um, and that unfortunately became a part of like their religious belief system too. Is that like their political belief aligns with their religion? Um, I don't feel like they are mutually exclusive, especially just looking at like a lot of Republican. Like, yeah, you definitely read the Bible and understood every single word of that. Anyways, let's get back into the game. We have about an hour left, or maybe less, now that Dorian spent time with him, because he worked today and I worked today, and we didn't get to see each other a lot. We don't get to see each other a lot this week, so we're gonna maybe get to like the next day, and then I might call it so I can spend some time with him. Um, Nick laughs at that before looking apologetic, but Carlos takes no offense. No, babe, it'll take a few months. They. What was. Why? Very confused. What is going on? Did I just do droogs or something? Dorian just. I didn't. That wasn't like a fever dream, right? He did just stuff things under my nose. I'm so confused. It just came out of a little plastic bag. Okay. Whatever. That's fine. I'll ask about that later. Saw nothing. Okay. It was clearly a fever dream. But Nick laughs at that before. They usually hear a bunch of these and then issue rulings on them, on all of them at once. Oh, he'd been hoping for quicker resolutions, so he could figure out whether he should really be looking at wedding planning in earnest. What if it's bad? Then you can still have a wedding. They were soap bars. Why were they in plastic bags? I'm very confused. And they looked like cookies. I thought you were going to put it in my mouth. Um, Nick shrugs, turning and kissing him on the lips. We can still have a wedding and get married in New York or something. Yeah, you can just have like a big party just celebrating the fact that you guys love each other and are making a commitment together. Like, that's all a wedding is. The marriage itself is like a piece of paper that comes with a lot of legal benefits. Um, which is part of the prime reason that I want to get married. Not to be like, oh, I've made my commitment to this person forever. It's like, I want to be sure that if something bad happens to me, Dorian's not left destitute, or vice versa. I thought you said that wouldn't work because California wouldn't recognize that or something. Correct, California won't, but you know, you still have a place that you are legally married and you get to have the celebration that you want with your friends and family and people that are important. A lot of straight people are like, I don't believe in marriage, and I'm here like, I don't understand that at all. Yeah, I like. I understand the idea of like not believing in like the construct of marriage, in terms of like people that don't fully believe in monogamy, or the fact that like if you flat out, if you have a successful marriage, it means that one of you dies alone. Um, which, like, no, nobody wants that. Marriage shouldn't be the government's business. Okay, but it is. So, exactly, like, because marriage has become this government entity that now comes with legal benefit, I want marriage because I want the legal benefit. If I've been living with Dorian for 3 years, and because we're not married, we don't get like the tax of like having been married or anything like that. Um, if I'm in a terrible accident tomorrow, my parents, who I haven't spoken to in peers are the ones that get to make the calls on what to do with my life. Um, and all of that kind of goes away with marriage. Granted, it also goes away with like living trusts and things like that. But, you know, the fact that there's one piece of paper that can make all of those exponentially easier, I would rather do that. For me, it's more than just the legal part, and I feel like it's hard to explain to strangers. That's fair. Um, I'm curious. Okay, actually, no. Explain it to me. I'm not a straight, so explain it to me. Is it the fact that it's something that's been denied for gay people for so long? Or is it like the commitment between husband? Or what is it? I'm just curious, just for me. Because I do understand sort of the idea of like having a someone, but I'm also aware that like divorce is a thing and people change and people can grow together really well for a long time and then suddenly have work. Um, and I still would want that protection for my partner or for myself under like the legal umbrellas um, while we were together. At least part of it to me was growing up, I assumed I wouldn't be able to be married. So, like, okay, I guess maybe we'll get civil unions, but that's settling. So, my relationship with my husband is less than my dad's. That's fair. Okay, so it is technically about like the idea. I understand. I'm rolling ideas in my. I understand that, and that's completely valid because I've had those ideas too. Um, I don't like the idea of having to do something that's like separate but equal. Um, but also, I have always been a person that has like insisted on myself as never being less than anyone else in any way, and nothing I do is less than anyone else in any way. Which, granted, I will say I've thoroughly faltered on in many ways at many times. But that was one that I was always like, no, how I love someone is just as valid as anyone. Um, so I guess I slightly differ in that. Um, and of course, those benefits all matter a ton. Legal benefits you can kind of get with enough paperwork. Yeah, and that was a big piece for me, obviously, because that's what I keep going off on. That like these legal benefits of being with someone, like if you're man and woman, are just like handed to you without question because you get married. Like Mad and I could get married tomorrow. No one would bat an eye. We would have all these like XYZ legal benefits, especially if like we were in the military or we had great jobs with great benefits and blah blah blah. And it wouldn't matter that we didn't love each other. I mean, I love you, Mad. That was a fever dream. No one heard that. Um, it doesn't matter that we're not like in love with each other or that we don't have a relationship. Like no one would bat an eye at just giving us those benefits. But if I wanted to do that with Mike, my very heterosexual friend, um, even if there was like no romance involved in it, and I was like, oh, I want him to be able to benefit off of my insurance plan, or I know him so well that I know what he would want if something happened to him. You would have to fill out so much paperwork to make that happen. Like it's when you get into those like shades of gray area, it's yeah. That's when it's like, oh, if there are parts of the system that can be worked because of XYZ, then you need to reciprocate it the other way. Or close it off entirely. You need to do like the hard, like green card style. You need to be interviewed a million times before you get married, and it needs to be as difficult as possible for everybody to get these benefits. Or it needs to be as easy for everybody to get these benefits. Um But it's not just those benefits. We're going to click back over here for a minute. I think it's that maybe monogamous straights have never had to consider for a second that they wouldn't be able to marry the person. So they can be more dismissive of that institution. Correct. And that is slightly bothersome. But also, it's bothersome on just like a moral level. Me, their choices and thoughts and opinions, unfortunately, they'll have nothing to do with me. So I can't let that bother me. So the soap was in plastic bags because they gave them to our store as a trade. I also have a beard oil. What business did that? Yeah, exactly. I almost married a close friend to help her DACA process move along faster. I remember you telling me about that, but she got all of that covered, I believe. Yeah. See, and then we also like, it kills me how like the gays are ruining. Yet we have like 90 Day Fiance is a TV show that millions of people tune into. And the entire idea is like getting someone a green card and hoping that they stay in love in spite of the fact that most of the time these people don't speak the same language. And like the guy, the American guy is typically like, you sleep with me? 2 canoes? Dos canoes? And the girl's like, yeah, America, please. Or vice versa. I think it was a small fragrance business near by, I don't know. Well, they smelled nice. But yeah, we have stuff like that. Or we have Britney Spears, which nothing against Britney Spears. Britney Spears had a 42-hour marriage that she instantly got either annulled or divorced or whatever. Like, that doesn't ruin the sanctity of marriage, but 2 guys doing it. Oh my god, call the freaking police. Pat, finish this part so you could go spend time with your boyfriend. Or just go. No, I want to finish this part that way, at least when I come back next week to it, because we're doing whatever for Mad tomorrow, and then I'm still probably doing Fallout on Thursday. I want to at least get to where we're good. But see, Bob, you should have talked about this stuff at like the beginning. I know this is directly tied into the game, but you should have like triggered all this stuff at the beginning of stream, and then you would have gotten those 30 minutes like nobody's business. I'm also just here distracting him. Yeah, Dorian's here shoving soap under my nose and having me try spinach kale smoothies. So, you know. Nick shook us again, but looks frustrated now. That's true. I don't know. I guess we have to hope that it's not bad. Well, things are moving a lot faster here than back home. He stops himself, realizing that he didn't really think of it as home anymore. But the words had come automatic anyway. Back in Costa Rica. It'll probably be another... That's such an interesting word, because Dorian does that too. Not to keep derailing, but Dorian does that where he'll talk about like home, and I'm like, babe? And he means like his parents' house, but it'll probably be another decade there, so at least we're going in the right direction, right? Faster? Nick sighs, leaning back against the headboard. Yeah, sometimes it's easy to forget that outside of this bubble that we're kind of in, especially outside of this city or this state or this country, it's still not so simple. I don't understand why it isn't that simple. I love you, you love me, why can't we get married? He doesn't think he's particularly good at philosophy, so he turns to more practical matters instead. If this goes well, what does that mean for immigration? That is a really good question, actually. Because I don't know if it needs to be recognized by... I mean, it shouldn't. Yeah. I do enjoy me some spinach and some kale. I do enjoy me some spinach and kale, especially with like a sweet or tart fruit, like cutting it. Right? Meant to look that up. It probably depends a bit on what exactly they decide to So I'm not sure if whatever I find there will ever be accurate. Will even be accurate. Oh my god, I can't. Spinach, kale, carbonate. Bob, you're a monster. Mad, you know what to do. Carlos doesn't understand the nuance, so he just pulls Nick closer and kisses his temple again. That at least he. Sorry, this is so frustrating for you. I'm surprised it isn't more frustrating for you. I get that, Nick says, and Carlos worries that he means something by it. I wish I could go with the flow more on this like you do. It would make it less stressful. Carlos decides it wasn't intended as a criticism. It's not meant to be. Come across it. I don't know. There's sometimes instances where, I mean, less with Dorian. I've been in relationships where I'm like, why don't you care what's going on in our country and what will directly affect us or what is directly affecting like people that we care about? But you know, that's a me thing, and I have had to tone that down like quite a bit. Like I'm still very politically inclined, but I've had to tone down some of my like understanding that people can't ingratiate themselves in it a ton. Ingratiate, no. Surround themselves with it a ton. Because it sometimes is frankly just depressing. Because a lot of what politics is trying to fix problems. It's just whose problem you're fixing and who sees what as a problem. That becomes very disconcerting for a lot of people. You don't want to be as laid back as I am, dude. If Adam hadn't kept me on track instead of graduating a year late, I wouldn't have graduated at all. And then where would we be? Nick smiles, his hand finding Carlos's cheek, kissing him gently. Well, thank God for Adam, then. Carlos already does, every day, and he knows Nick feels the same way, but it still brings a warm feeling to it. Besides, we don't need the government to tell us, or our parents, how we feel about each other, right? Nick frowns, as if he wants to disagree, but just shakes his head. No, we don't. That's true. That is something that, like, when I was in high school, which granted was also around this time when all this stuff was being decided on, that was something that, like, a lot of my friends and I had talked about was, like, well, if the government says no, we're, like, I'm still gonna throw a party. I'm still gonna tell people that, you know, I love this person and I'm committed to this person and that they're a part of my life and blah, blah, blah. I still am gonna call them, like, my husband or my wife or whatever. Like, the government saying no to that isn't gonna stop me from saying yes and whatever I want. Carlos kisses him again. So then maybe we'll see what happens and start making some general plans that don't require any commitment yet and go from there. That sounds sensible, babe. Nick kisses him again before maneuvering out of his arms and stuff. And I think we should have a bit of a late breakfast before we have to head into work. I have to. Nick shakes his head. Until we're legally married and we can get you your green card, yes. Fair enough. Didn't even think about that. There are times when Dorian's like going to go do some money making thing that I'm like, you don't want to. I got us. But yeah, nope, you kind of need to maintain good, consistent work status to keep a green card. Now come and start the arduous process of pouring cereal into a bowl for us. I'm not sure my kitchen skills are up to the task. Carlos climbs out of bed after him, wrapping his arms around him from behind, and loving the way Nick pulls them both towards the kitchen anyway. Didn't you burn water once? I accidentally left a pot boiling on the stove when Wade decided dinner was a good time for spontaneous sex, babe. Not exactly burning water. Pretty close. Also, hot. In multiple ways. So what you're saying is that I shouldn't blow you while you're pouring the cereal, or you'll fill the entire apartment with cornflakes. Nick stops, turning around in his arms and kisses. Uh-huh. If you find me that magic box of cornflakes, we'll be rich enough that we don't have to worry about all this job stuff. Now let me go and let's eat so you're actually not late. So, no blowjob? Nick blushes and Carlos knows he's actually considering it. I think that really wouldn't be a good idea. Bad. Carlos kisses his forehead and lets him go. Fine. But you're making it up to me tonight. Just not with pineapple. Nick smiles, kissing him before grabbing bowls from the dish rack. I look forward to. And that's unfortunately where we stop, but we'll have a really good start. I just realized that was Adam. But we'll have a really good start next week. At least I hope so. I'm doing the quick save. So, we'll see. If anything, it's April 13th. Thanks for stream. Thanks for coming! In spite of all my breaks that I needed to take and various many opinions, including some political ones. Where did my case go? Because, yeah, I guess I'll find that in a minute. Because my headphones are dying, which is always the good indicator for me that stream's over. Always appreciate your opinions. It's nice. It's weird to like be able to go back and forth with like the creator of something about how I'm interpreting something. Yeah, it's a rare opportunity not a lot of people get. And then also, like I said, wow, that was a hair directly from my head. Like I said, it's interesting getting to know you as a friend while reading some of this because I feel like it gives me insight to you in some ways. You know, another opportunity not a lot of people get? Carbonating their pickle juice. Mad. Get rid of him. Be an outlier. Anyway, on that note. Alright, well, if you made it this far and you're over on YouTube, feel free to like and subscribe. If you're on the Twitch, then feel free to follow me. I'm a good time. You can always change your mind later, but like I said, I'm a pretty good time. So, thanks for stream. Thanks for stopping in. And I will see you guys. Oh, tomorrow I have another short coming out. Oh, thank you, everybody. By the way, we hit 500 this week. Yeah. So, thank you, everybody, for getting me actually over 500. Congrats. Thank you. But yeah, so tomorrow there will be another short coming out. We'll be back with fall. Oh no, tomorrow is Mad's birthday. One more time. Shout out for the Madeline. Because she'll be doing something gaming. I think. There we go. Maybe that did a thing. I don't think that did the thing. I don't think that did the right thing. Oh. Nope. That was definitely the elusive Mad. I probably spelled it wrong. Yes. There we go. So yes, we're gonna be with her tomorrow doing something. And then I'll be back with more Fallout on Thursday. Bob just got third. But I guess Bob's the third now. Awesome. Well, we have that solved. So many no's. I finally got someone to say yes. But yeah, back Thursday stream with Fallout, and then normal-ish content. I think in lieu of my Do Not Take This Cat Home video this week, I will be playing The Bachelor. So stay tuned for that. And I will see you all on Thursday. Bye. Oh. Yep. Forgot to move back my OBS. So wasn't quite as seamless, but that's fine. I'm not known for my seamlessness. Also, Glitch Kitten saying hi to people now. Adorable. Alright. Good night, everybody. Thank you.